Hello, and welcome to the December version of Dialectics After Dark, which is our patrons-only bonus content that we bring to you live from a bunker in central Colorado. Someday.
It's kind of like a bunker.
It feels like a bunker.
A little bit like a bunker.
With the overhead fluorescent lights.
What day is it?
What day is it?
How long have I been here?
So anyway, we're gonna try out a couple of new segments, a couple old segments. It's gonna be what's the term for when there's like two things that are like contradictory that
Like a paradox, like a...
The dialectic is in motion.
real shit. All right. So anyway, I'm Ethan. I'll be your guide along this journey to the good and the bad places that it goes. I'm drinking a Estes Park Stinger Wild Honeyweed. Oh, it's Estes Park Brewery Stinger Wild Honeyweed, which is they are using Comic Sans on their label, which is hilarious, but it's pretty good. So,
this is Justin. I'm drinking Sierra Nevada's Celebration Fresh Hop IPA.
Nice.
This is William. I'm drinking a Benedictiner Bavarian style lager beer.
New Proles, who dis?
This is Savannah. I'm drinking Dogfish Head Sea Quench Ale.
This is Taylor, and I'm drinking a Funkworks Tropic King Imperial Saison.
This is Jeremy, and I'm drinking a Funkworks Tropic King Imperial Saison.
How delightful.
So yeah, table's packed. It's like 85 degrees in here just because everyone's sweating.
I'm wearing a coat.
Yeah, that's fine. No, but yeah, so we're just gonna jump right into it. So this is unpopular here in the room, but apparently very popular with all of the listeners. So we're gonna jump into some.
I've always loved it.
Okay,
I've never not loved this segment.
Since apparently the Proles are a commodity, we're going to give into the market.
well, they technically
is
pay us
demanded.
money, so what are you gonna do? All right. And so Justin's going to break off and start his own podcast. Like, it's pure, like, no fucking money involved. Abolishing the value form on this podcast. All right.
Ultra Justin.
Okay.
I'm going to start as a Maoist first, though.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
yeah. That's how you got to do it.
First a Maoist.
Yeah, you got to be a mouse before you can be an ultra.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to read something in the New York Times by David Brooks. And
Friend of the podcast.
we're going to talk about this. I want to give you some context for this guy a little bit. So I'm going to show you a picture. Do you know who this woman is?
No,
No.
Do you have any guesses?
I know who David Brooks is.
Okay. So David Brooks started, he interned for the National Review back in like the 60s or 70s, which was run by William F. Buckley, who, if you've never heard of him, he's basically a Klan member.
Yeah.
Great.
Cool.
Like white supremacist in all but name. But he's like, oh, everyone talks about him like, oh, he's one of the smart conservatives. Because he had the shows, the firing line. And like they would talk about ideas. There are videos of him getting owned in debates with like James Baldwin, Gore Vidal, all
Didn't
these
he
people.
also get owned in a debate with fucking Foucault?
Oh, probably.
I think so.
Probably.
Yes.
That was his thing, was getting owned in debates. And also running the National Review, which again, like basically
The paper of getting owned.
basically the Klan newspaper. It's still around and it's awful.
We wouldn't have Bill O'Reilly if it wasn't
We
for
would
William
not
Buckley.
have most of the like shit ass conservative discourse if not for William F. Buckley. So
Love
rest
it.
in peace in hell.
Love it.
Rest in peace now.
So anyway, so David Brooks like interned there. He's like a centrist. He's a moderate. He was really big on like the Iraq War before it happened. Like, we got to go in there. They're gonna like think we're liberators. That horse shit.
Love it.
He's been writing for the New York Times forever. He writes op-eds, and he has to be one of the dumbest motherfuckers on the planet.
He's the one who wrote the article that was like, if you punch a Nazi, you're punching me or something like
Yes.
that.
Damn,
Glad
Tipper.
he
That's where it's one
wants-
star. Exactly.
I'm just going to punch every Nazi just to punch him.
So anyway, so he was writing a book a couple of years ago called, well, hold on. I don't remember what it's called now. I just want to make sure I got it correct. No, so he wrote a book called in 2015 called The Road to Character, which it says is about trying to figure out how to live with character, like live with high moral standards, all this thing. Anyway, while he's writing this book, he has a research assistant named Ann Snyder, who is 23 years younger than him. who's helping him research for the Road to Character. Anyway, in 2017, he divorces his wife of 27 years, marries his 23 year younger than him research assistant.
Shocked.
After publishing The Road to Character. Anyway, no, that picture always to me looks like she looks like 25 years old and he looks like an old man, and it's disgusting.
But it also looks like a glamour shots of a couple.
Yeah.
Well, yes, I know, but like,
Which chapter's that in?
it's the epilogue. This was my road to character. Anyway, he's a terrible, terrible dude. Just awful writer. Just dumb as shit. But the New York Times keeps paying him millions of dollars to churn out the same garbage.
Sounds about right.
So anyway, all of that to say, I was once a socialist. Then I saw how it worked.
Sure you did,
And
buddy.
then the sub had 2 cheers for capitalism now and forever. I was a socialist in college. I read magazines like The Nation and old issues of The New Masses. I dreamed of being the next Clifford. Oh, shut up. A lefty playwright who was always trying. Yeah, Waiting for Lefty's good. Fuck you. If you go on YouTube and search David Brooks, Milton Friedman, you can see a 22-year-old socialist me debating The Great Economist.
I feel like
The Great
getting lectured by my
Economist.
dad.
I'm the one with the bushy hair and the giant 1980s glasses that were apparently on loan from the Palomar Lunar Observatory.
LOL.
He's so funny making fun of himself.
The best version of socialism is defined by Michael Walzer's phrase, "What touches all should be decided by all."
That's totally the best definition. What a fucking jackass.
Great economic enterprises should be owned by all of us in common. Decisions should be based on what benefits all, not the maximization of profit.
Yes.
That's not what democratic socialists, in quotes, like Bernie Sanders are talking about, but I get why some of their socialist concerns are popular. Why do we have to live with such poverty and inequality? Why can't we put people over profits? What is the best life in the most just society? Socialism is the most compelling secular religion of all time. It gives you an egalitarian ideal to sacrifice and live for. My socialist sympathies didn't survive long once I became a journalist. I quickly noted that the government officials I was covering were not capable of planning the society they hoped to create. It wasn't because they were bad or stupid. The world is just too complicated. I came to realize
Gestures broadly at the Soviet Union.
I came to realize that capitalism is really good at doing the one thing socialism is really bad at, creating a learning process to help people figure stuff out.
That's demonstrably false.
If you want to run a rental car company, capitalism has a whole bevy of market and price signals and feedback loops that tell you what kind of cars people want to rent, where to put your locations, how many cars to order. It has a competitive, profit-driven process to motivate you and to learn and innovate every single day.
Continuously fucking amazes me how people who are capitalist apologists continue to ignore how inefficient all this is.
Have you ever tried to rent a car? That is like a terrible
the fucking
process.
worst.
Oh, it's
It's the
horrible.
worst.
But also, like, why do we need 70 cars to choose
Well,
from?
right,
I need to
that
get from
too.
point A to point B. Go fuck
Exactly.
yourself.
Exactly.
Like, what?
Just as a short aside, when I took a trip to New Jersey a few years ago, and we had already reserved the car.
Yes.
We got to the place, and you have to have like $1,200 in your. If you use a debit card, you have to have like $1,200 in your account before you can put it on to hold the car.
A
It was
lot of
fucking
places-
ridiculous. And so we spent like probably an hour and a half like trying to figure out a way around this until they were finally like, well, the rental car place next door doesn't have that policy. So we walked like 15 yards next door and got one at like budget or whatever.
my
Like,
God.
it was the most nightmarish experience.
Yeah, and they give away people's
But that's
cars
efficiency?
all
That's capitalist
the
efficiency.
time. Even after you've made a reservation, you already have it on lock. You're like, yes, and this is the car I need. And then you get there and it's not available. And that can be disastrous if it's like you've got a big family and you're trying to like get across like a large area. You can't move them all without like a large
Exactly.
van.
I mean,
So we know
And
you
all
need
the
like a
7-passenger
Chevy Astro, but here's a Volt for you real
Right,
quick.
if that
Exactly.
other place hadn't been there, like
Right.
would I have been stuck in Jersey with no way
No
to
car.
get around? Like,
Yeah.
get the fuck
Nightmare.
out
Oh,
of here.
that sounds like hell.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say a lot of places won't even let you use a debit card anymore. You have to use a credit card.
Yeah.
And they
even have a credit
jump up the price once you get there. Like you'll
Yeah,
have
of
it
course.
reserved. I was getting one, and William was in the office while the woman was talking to me at the car.
Yeah.
And they were teaching other salespeople how to bump up the price when the person gets at the lot.
I mean, I have a really good story about that. I booked one online, and then when I got there, they were out of 7-passenger vehicles, and so I was like, "Well, fuck, what am I supposed to do?" So I went next door to the like whatever the next rental agency was. And they were like, yeah, it's going to be, and it was like $1,000 more than I had booked it with the other company because they were short on 7-passenger vehicles and they knew it. And so they jacked up the prices. So then I walked away from the desk, got on the internet, booked it through their website, and it was almost the same price as the other people's. And then I went back up to the counter and got the fucking thing. So fucking stupid.
Did you give him the middle finger when you walked out?
No, fuck you. I was just like, whatever.
Awful.
But
well, so anyway, that was his example
kids,
of.
I think is the moral of the story. Don't have 5 children.
Anyway, well, that was his example of of how capitalism allows like competitive, profit-driven process to motivate you to learn and innovate every single day.
It's great.
Socialist planned economies, the common ownership of the means of production, interfere with price and other market signals in a million ways.
No shit.
They suppress. That's good, actually.
I wonder why.
They suppress or eliminate profit motives that drive people to learn and improve.
Oh,
Yes,
come
because
on.
the
It doesn't matter
consequences.
how big your computers are. The socialists can never gather all relevant data, can never construct the right feedback loops. The state cannot even see the local, irregular, context-driven factors that can have exponential effects.
This is not true. It is true in the U.S.
The state cannot predict people's desires, which sometimes change on a whim. Capitalism creates a relentless learning system.
Yes,
Socialism
but that's a problem.
doesn't.
You shouldn't be basing shit on people's whims. It should be on their basic needs.
Well, and
like, what
this,
do people need?
this imagines that human
broadly.
desires are again human nature, quote unquote. Like
Yeah, exactly.
the
Yes.
desires that people have in a fucking capitalist market are obviously going to be based on like capitalism.
Right.
Like,
Right.
What it's not that hard to understand.
He needs to listen to our episode on Cybersyn where we
was
talk
about-
about
Yes.
this.
He also needs to listen to our episode on communist democracy
He needs
and
to
the whole
come here and
process
we'll
of
give
how
him the
they
dunce
pass shit
hat.
down.
Like,
Fucking
We can
coward.
debate you.
Defend yourself.
Yeah.
the sort of knowledge.
If he loses in a debate to us, do you think he'll change into a communist? No, you're right.
The sorts of knowledge that capitalism produces are often not profound, like how to design the best headphone. But that kind of knowledge does produce enormous wealth. Human living standards were pretty much flat for all of human history until capitalism kicked in. Since
Jesus
then,
Christ.
the number of goods and services available to average people has risen by up to 10,000%.
As
How
we
many,
know,
like-
more goods and services equals better society.
Not to mention living standards of people in the USSR increased at a rate higher than that of the US.
Yep.
I just like how many like Elon Musk fanboys are just sitting like reading something like this, like jerking themselves off, just like, yeah, he's got it right. Like this is so smart.
Bring me the Cybertruck.
Well, Justin, if you've been around a little while, you've noticed that capitalism has brought about the greatest reduction of poverty in human history.
Oh, sure.
In
wow.
1981,
This is going.
42% of the world lived in extreme poverty. Now it's around 10%. More than 1 billion people have been lifted out of poverty.
If you take
That's
China out
China.
of
well,
the
hold
equation,
on. Well, hold on. You've noticed that places that instituted market reforms, like South Korea and Deng Xiaoping's China, tended to get richer and prouder. Places that moved towards socialism, Britain in the 1970s,
No.
Venezuela more recently,
Oh, shut
tended
up.
to get poorer and more miserable.
I'm sorry, the embargoes have nothing to do
Yeah,
with that.
nothing
at all.
else.
Well, and like that completely
Britain
ignores
in
like
the
the
70s.
entirety of the aughts. Like as Chavez took over up through like most recent to the
Yeah.
point of like embargoes, they were doing great.
Yeah.
He stopped taking. He
1999
stopped taking new
to-
information in 1998. So I'm full. No room for new thoughts. You've noticed that the environment is much better in capitalist nations than in planned economies. The American GDP has more than doubled since 1970, but energy consumption has risen only modestly.
yes, because we keep exporting our fucking
America's
production.
per capita
Yeah.
carbon emissions hit a 67-year low in 2017.
Yes, because all of our fucking production occurs in China, Vietnam,
The
Indonesia,
greatest environmental
Mexico.
degradations are committed by planned systems like the old Soviet Union and communist China. He's trying to have it both ways here.
Yes.
Yeah,
China
yeah.
is
China is
poverty
is-
reduction,
yeah.
but
Communists
also
and their
Yeah.
capitalists at the same
Oh,
time.
fucking, I hate this so much.
the Fraser. Niles, this is a terrible economy you've got here. No,
I hear the blues are calling, tossed salads and scrambled eggs.
so we'll just call it the Fraser Institute because it's funny.
Sure.
The
Yeah,
Fraser
that's fine.
Institute is a free market think tank that ranks nations according to things free market think tanks like.
Think tank, being a sly word for a bunch of conservatives sitting around talking to each other. But
Things that
Making
free
horrible
market
ideas.
think tanks like less regulation, free trade, secure property rights. The freest economies in the world are places like Hong Kong, the US, Canada, Ireland, Latvia, Denmark, Mauritius. Is it? I have never heard that said, actually. Sorry if you live
Yeah, I
there.
haven't either. Yeah.
Malta and Finland. Nations in the top quartile for economic freedom have an average GDP per capita of 36,700. For those in the bottom quartile, it's 6,000. People in the free economies have a life expectancy of 79.4 years. Those in the planned economies. So this is wild. Like this guy, he exists just in the present moment. Nothing has ever happened before.
Right.
Nothing will happen until it happens. There's no way to draw a correlation between anything. Nothing has context. It's
Because
just
the market decides shit in capitalist economies, and in planned economies, it's all the responsibility of the government. So basically, you can say none of the bad things that happened under a market economy are the fault of the market
Right,
economy.
exactly.
But everything bad that happens under a
right.
planned
It's
economy
capitalism
is the
can't fail.
responsibility.
Capitalism can only be failed by us.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. We fucked up. We failed capitalism.
Exactly.
We failed the market.
Oh man.
Sorry, market. Please forgive me. Capitalism is the largest secular religion.
Yep, there we go. No, this
Yeah.
gets good. This gets good. Over the past century, planned economies have produced an enormous amount of poverty and scarcity. What's worse is what happens when the political elites learn what you can do with that scarcity. They turn scarcity into corruption. When things are scarce, you have to bribe government officials to get them. Soon everybody's bribing. Citizens soon realize the whole system is a fraud. Socialism produces economic and political inequality as the rulers turn into gangsters. A system that begins in high idealism ends in corruption, dishonesty,
up.
oppression, and distrust. I learned the ills of socialism quickly and became a Whig slowly. Like WHIG.
Shit.
He became a
I haven't heard that. in a
A
long time.
Whig, yes.
White supremacist.
Okay, so
My first economic hero, Alexander Hamilton.
Oh my god.
He came to America with almost nothing and found an economy dominated by land-rich oligarchs like Thomas Jefferson. He realized the solution was to make everyone a capitalist. He created credit markets so that capital would be fluid and more people would have access to investments. My next hero.
I want to die.
My next hero is Abraham Lincoln. He grew up poor and launched his career as a Whig. He gave more speeches on
White supremacist.
in some ways. Ooh. He gave more speeches on banking and infrastructure projects than on slavery. That's because he wanted to spread capital and grease the wheels of commerce so poor boys and girls like him could rise. He helped create the land-grant colleges so that more people would have the training to compete as capitalists. Another major American figure in the Whig tradition is Theodore Roosevelt.
Also a white supremacist.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. He loved the dynamism that capitalism arouses and knew that sometimes you have to limit giant corporations so millions of less established capitalists can compete.
It's like these fuckers love to completely ignore the Spanish-American War. That's like when people talk about Theodore Roosevelt, I'm just like, holy shit, this dude was a piece of shit, and like we have it right here in like historical writings. You can just see it. It's like God.
All these leaders understood that the answer to the problems of capitalism is wider and fairer capitalism.
Gross. Also,
yeah,
just as a fun anecdotal aside, the term Whig and the term Tory both were names for criminals. Like one of them is like a horse thief,
And they still are.
and the other one is like just a general like ruffian brigand type or whatever.
Brigand.
They began as insults for each other. They would like call each other, "You're a Tory, you're a Whig," but they were like they were often. I'm pretty sure both of them though were like were slurs against Irish people.
Oh, very cool.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
cool.
So both, yeah.
Awesome.
There you go. Fun fact.
that.
So I'm going to skip a little bit here because this is very long. Capitalism, like all human systems, is always unbalanced one way or another. Over the last generation, capitalism has produced the greatest reduction in global income inequality in history. We already talked about this. The downside is that low-skilled workers in the U.S. are now competing with workers in Vietnam, India, and Malaysia. The reduction of inequality among nations has led to the increase of inequality within rich nations like the U.S. Also, education levels have not kept pace with technology. More people grow up with inadequate schools, disrupted families, and fragmented neighborhoods. They find it harder to acquire the skills to become good capitalists.
How does that happen?
The market is effectively closed off. These problems are not signs that capitalism is broken.
Shut the fuck
have
up.
bad
They are
capitalism.
signs that we need more and better capitalism.
Hey, so this alienation's getting real bad. What do we do? Just fucking
please give us
alienate
better
further.
schools, please.
We need a massive
So when
infusion.
Friedman debated him in the 80s, he actually laid his his eggs inside of his chest. And now Milton Friedman's
just like just like came out of his mouth and was like, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, gross. Oh, very gross. These problems, we need a massive infusion of money and reform into our education systems from infancy through life. Human capital building is like nutrition. It's something you have to... it's something you have to attend to every day. We need
Cradle to grave capitalism.
Yeah, very cool. We need worker co-ops. Richard Wolff. was just like,
Wolf. We're on the same side.
and the BSA was, we need worker co-ops which build skills and represent labor at the negotiating table. We need wage subsidies and mobility subsidies so people can afford to move to opportunity. We need tax subsidies for healthcare to make it easier for people to switch jobs. We need a higher earned income tax credit to give the working poor financial security so they don't get
subsidies.
So they don't get swept away amidst the creative destruction. We need a carbon
subsidies
tax.
Sounds like vouchers, like for schools.
We need a carbon tax to give everyone an incentive to reduce carbon emissions without pretending we know the best way to do
Because
it.
dying isn't enough of an incentive. And it's like,
Right.
Every single idea I just mentioned comes from the American Enterprise Institute or Brookings or some other institution derided as being part of the neoliberal elite.
Yeah,
Because
that's
they
all
are.
working
Because it
real
is.
well. Like we're
All of
fucking
these
killing
ideas
it.
would make capitalism work better.
Sure.
Wow.
A big mistake those of us on the conservative side made was to think that anything that made the government bigger also made the market less dynamic. We failed to distinguish between the supportive state and the regulatory state.
Radical centrism.
The supportive state makes better and more secure capitalists. The Scandinavian nations have very supportive welfare states. They also have very free markets.
Listen,
the only
homies,
reason
like
they can
I absolutely will acknowledge that fucking like social democracy is preferable to capitalism, but
Yeah,
like this motherfucker is talking about like austerity measures in addition to government programs. So what the fuck is he talking about?
he's speaking out of both sides of his mouth.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's,
Okay,
Yeah.
let me skip a little bit to get to get into the conclusion here. This is wild. Capitalism is not a religion. It won't save your soul or fulfill the yearnings of your heart.
Truth.
But somehow it will arouse your energies. It will lift your sights. It will put you on a lifelong learning journey to know, to improve, to dare, and to dare again.
Got that money boner.
okay. Who was there was this
But wait, there's more.
God, he was like the late 19th century or early 20th century like political philosopher
Where?
who was like constantly on about like energies, like energetic nations versus non-energetic nations.
Oh,
and,
shit. Hold on.
Donald Trump.
No.
Okay, cool.
energy.
Like a bunch. It's funny because like a bunch of like if you watch that, I posted this video that was like breaking down the
Herbert Spencer? No, that's an anthropologist.
He might be.
I
I think
don't
it's
know.
Herbert Spencer. Actually.
Okay.
But you know, he says that what has to happen, like he argues that
This motherfucker.
I don't know,
Side-
that might be him.
Huge ass sideburns.
Anyway, he was arguing that societies which restrict sexual like has like suppressed sexual expression tends to be more quote unquote energetic.
He's the energetic sociology guy. Yep, it's Spencer.
Yeah,
It's Spencer.
So a bunch of like right wing assholes love to quote him because they're like, yeah, it's these women who were fucking like just putting themselves out there. They're destroying society, right? But Spencer argued that I'm pretty sure it's Spencer. Anyway, he argued that
Apologies
that
to Herbert Spencer.
you have to achieve equality between the sexes before this is even possible.
Nice.
Because men are the ones who tend to be more like sexually deviant and tend to
Yes.
be more like likely to like cheat on their spouses or
very true.
like
Yes.
engage in sexual behavior which is detrimental to the society, which is the part that the right-wing assholes tend not to read into.
Whoops.
But yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
when you said the energy thing, I was
Yep.
like, that reminds me.
I'm
really
willing to bet he has not read whatever that is.
He might have.
Hold on. Last Sunday, this end is wild. Last Sunday, I attended a service with a young friend at a church that has quickly become a home for her. There were several hundred congregants. 90% were under 30. 90% were Latino. The service was 2 hours of joy and exultation, glow sticks and song and balloons.
Sounds like a rave.
This is a really strange church, but I'm okay with it.
They give you some of like some wine, some of like Jesus's blood, and then some ecstasy.
This is a weird.
Just one tab.
This is my body.
I remember reading a thing. They were talking like someone had found some Christian dubstep, and they were like,
Oh
listen,
my God.
No, they were like,
Oh my
listen,
God.
here's the thing. For Christian dubstep, like it's really weak. Like if it's Christian dubstep, I want when the bass drops, I want the fear of God in me. All right. They weren't worshiping capitalism, but something higher. But still their work lives came into view. Look how far we've come. Look how far we've come, different people kept saying. I saw my own family's Jewish immigration history being reenacted right in front of me. We, like they, started out as butchers and seamstresses and tailors, self-employed capitalists because it can be hard for immigrants to get corporate jobs. The opportunity explosion my family experienced, and your family probably experienced, is happening still, made possible by the ever-expanding pie that capitalism provides.
Fuck off.
The theme that day was hope, transcendent hope and more immediate hope. Move and miracles happen, a young Latino woman sang. Every year, hundreds of millions of people march with their feet to capitalism. Today, the real argument is not between capitalism and socialism. We ran that social experiment for 100 years and capitalism won. It's between a version of democratic capitalism found in the US, Canada, and Denmark, and forms of authoritarian capitalism found in China and Russia. Our job is to make the widest and fairest version of capitalism it can possibly be. Yeah. So anyway, David Brooks is the author of The Road to Character and most recently, The Second Mountain.
What?
So anyway,
Well, fuck you for making us.
but yeah, anyway,
I'm rustled.
I'm rustled. Yeah. No, it's this guy's wild. I was doing some reading about him before, and so he is Jewish, but he was like, let me read this quote from him that was just very strange about religion. It was very odd. Man, imagine his Wikipedia page, David Brooks, commentator. Imagine like that's what you were known as, a commentator. Yeah. That's terrible.
I comment on things.
When you scroll down
Every human.
in some weird blog, and there's like the weird Facebook posts at the bottom. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Weird comments
Yes.
on like some random blog.
Oh yeah.
And no one comments with the weirdest people, so you're like, what? It's your
Well,
profession.
there
The
was like
worst takes.
that article about the containers that blew over.
Yes.
And I was just like, well, like nobody can be happy nowadays. I'm like, what? Like, how is that comment at all relevant to like what's being said
Oh
here?
my god, that stupid story.
Yeah. He said, if Jews don't want me as a Jew, they're going to have to kick me out. On the other hand, I can't unread Matthew, Brooks said, citing Jesus' Beatitudes as the ultimate roadmap for life in the book. Brooks addresses the, quote, crucial question of whether he believes in the resurrection of Jesus, a core doctrine for most Christians where most Jews would draw the line. The simple, brutally honest answer is, my belief in it comes and goes.
Okay,
Just a weird. He's
Wow, he's like a centrist in every sense that he can
He
be.
has to find like
Yeah.
the middle position on everything.
best position is the one
decision.
directly in the middle.
I mean, that like, I guess it makes a lot of people happy. Like they're
Yes.
just like, yeah, I'll read
Yeah.
this and like totally agree with this guy because like, man, he's a straight shooter right down the middle.
He really
Objective.
considers both points. Yeah.
Right between the eyes.
All right. So we're gonna jump over to the Washington Post.
Oh god.
This is sort of
The WAPO hurts.
this is sort of specific. Well, democracy dies in darkness.
It does.
Democracy dies in
Oh
darkness.
my gosh.
So let's keep
And
reading. So
Bezos
make
said
sure
that.
democracy doesn't die.
From Washington Post, the free world needs Boris Johnson.
Should die, right? That's the part that you left off.
By Hugh Hewitt. This guy looks like a robot. Let me hold on. Let me show you a picture of this
Is
guy.
he worse than
Democracy died in 1991.
Sad.
Oh, true.
What about does he look more like a robot than Rory Stewart?
Yeah, Roy Stewart looks like a person, just like a weirdly aligned one. Look at this motherfucker's face. Hold on.
I have I have Boris Johnson's face like impaled in my head.
Yeah.
You see him once, you'll never forget him.
Oh God.
Well, this is Hugh Hewitt.
Oh,
We're gonna
okay.
see Hugh
Yeah,
Hewitt's face.
everyone knows what Boris
Is it
Johnson
Huey
looks
Lewis?
like. Huey Hewitt in the news.
Whoa!
The uncanny valley. We have achieved the uncanny valley.
It's just very scary.
He doesn't. He does not. He
His
looks
hand
like.
is like in him, operating his mouth.
He looks like he looks like one of those like 3D world animation.
Oh my god,
things.
yeah.
He
Cool
looks.
3D World.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God. So Hugh Hewitt is writing for the Washington Post here. President Trump has been wise to stay out of the election in Britain. The almost insanely left-wing Labour Party was desperately hoping that Trump would provide fodder for its imaginary allegations that Prime Minister Boris Johnson is some sort of apprentice to the Sith Lord Trump.
You know that this can only go to a U.S. audience because anyone in the UK recognizes the fact that the Labour, the like
almost
general
insanely
Labour
left-wing.
party is constantly attempting to undermine Jeremy Corbyn, who is the most left-wing member of their well, not the most left-wing of their party, but the most left-wing leader they've had in a long time.
Yeah.
Who is not even that far left. But the rest of Labour is constantly trying to fuck with him. So the fuck are they talking about?
While American officials from both parties should keep their distance from endorsements or condemnations of any figure in British politics, everyone in the West has a stake in Thursday's vote. How many elections have they had in the last
So
like
many.
6 months? Dude?
Yeah, so
It seems like they have one like every month.
Not 6 months, but like they had that like emergency one where Theresa May was like I'm going to call a special election, and then
got fucked.
and then got fucked. Not as much as she should have been, but you know, the DUP saved her from.
If Johnson is returned to number 10 Downing Street with a working majority, the United Kingdom can finally and with certainty be free of the European Union, except for any agreement the UK and EU reach in the coming year on terms fair to both sides and favorable to economic growth worldwide. The bureaucrats of Brussels will have received a lesson they won't easily forget, and its remaining nation members can expect to see a loosening of the absurd excesses of the administrative state that risk further defections from the Union from states that see in Britain's escape a path to renewed national energy and growth of the best sort. This is why I'm rooting for Johnson and the Tories on Thursday. As a lifelong Anglophile and a descendant...
It's my favorite.
And being an Anglophile... I wish we had BBC in America. Doctor Who.
Like crisps and tea and imperialism.
Imperialism. I saw a meme. It was just like a sewage pipe, like belching like gray liquid. It was like, man, I love British cuisine.
Nice.
Hey.
It's like if you ever need proof that like social democracy is the left wing of fascism, it's the fact that the Labour Party, you know, ruled Britain until the beginning of the war, and then they were like, okay, here you go, fascists, handed over to Churchill.
Yeah.
He gets them through World War II, and they're like, okay, we'll take the country back. All right, bye guys.
Yeah, and it was also fucking John Major who privatized British Rail, which was the biggest fucking disaster.
Right.
Huge disaster.
This, as a lifelong Anglophile and a descendant of both Ulster and the Republic through a green-orange marriage of immigrants from County Down and County Clare, I'm for a united kingdom at peace with a vibrant Ireland, together serving as strong allies of freedom.
Vibrant.
Vibrant Ireland.
I love that word. 'Cause it's so meaningless.
Yeah, it is. Okay. Yeah, I won't read all of this, but here we go. The American Navy is inextricably bound to the Royal Navy, as is our common law to the ancestral common law of England. Our nations are cousins, and while the baton of leadership of the West passed from them to us in the aftermath of World War II, it isn't because of a Netflix series that we call the relationship special, but because of shared values. It isn't the genes or the memes, it's the history and commitment to freedom that make the US-UK friendship so enduring and remarkable.
Fuck off.
Did he just drop
that's a weird
jeans
art
and memes right there?
Yeah.
Is this Hideo Kojima?
The memes. All right. Anyway, I'm just... Okay, this is short, so I'm almost done. The free world requires economic growth and military preparedness. Johnson is committed to free markets and to maintaining and expanding the British military, especially its fleet of 4 Vanguard-class submarines that make up a crucial part of the West's nuclear deterrent.
Nuclear deterrence again.
The DPRK.
Oh, okay.
The House of Commons voted to replace the existing 4 submarines in July 2016. Jeremy Corbyn, standing opposite of Johnson as the only other viable candidate for prime minister, voted to end the submarine renewal program.
Good.
Can you imagine getting rid of nuclear submarines?
That'd be
Here's the
amazing.
thing.
Disastrous.
Here's the thing.
Here's the
We
thing.
can't use nuclear weapons.
Can't use
I am
nuclear
serious.
submarines.
Guys.
We can't use nuclear submarines. We don't need them. Wow, they're called Dreadnought, the Dreadnought class submarines.
Wow.
Are we the baddies? Yeah, exactly. Like seriously, like I've got. We're opening up our nuclear-equipped Dreadnought submarines. This is definitely not a bad thing.
That's all I hear when I hear Boris Johnson talk.
The West needs this in every other part of the British military. If you want economic growth for Britain and the world, as well as the international security that comes with a well-provisioned alliance of freedom-loving states led by the United States, you have a clear favorite on Thursday. Boris Johnson, the Tories.
Shut the fuck up.
Anyway, this is just that was stupid, but just like I have one last article. This is an old one, but it's a banger.
An oldie but a goodie.
It's from Forbes, which I don't think we've addressed recently or at all.
It's unfortunate, really, because I love reading Forbes.
So I was going to also read in
policy.
Washington Post. I was going to read Marco Rubio joins the anti-cap. Well, I'll give you a choice. Do we want to read Marco Rubio joins the anti-capitalist conservatives by
God.
George Triumph of the Will, or
Just fuck my shit up.
or do you want President
Anti-capitalist.
Obama's Marxist-Leninist economics, fact or fiction?
Yes, I want that one.
That's good. Let's do it.
Okay. So this is all right. So this is in Forbes. Yeah, that other one was again, George, just to get that joke in, George Triumph of the Will. That guy sucks. He's a monster. All right. No, so we'll go over to Forbes. This is from 2012. President Obama's Marxist-Leninist Economics, Fact and Fiction by Mark Hendrickson. It seems oh man, just wait. Ooh. All right. It seems inevitable in an election year that people on both ends of the ideological spectrum resort to simplistic labels. On the political right, many call President Obama a socialist because that is a simple, familiar term with desired negative connotations. However, I agree with the actual socialists from the International Socialist Organization.
Oh no!
Hold on, no.
I'm out.
It's not just that.
age well.
It's not, well, yeah, hold on. So it was with the actual socialists from the International Socialist Organization, the Committees of Correspondence for Democracy and Socialism. I've never heard of them.
No idea.
Never heard of them.
The
Probably a trot group. Probably like
It came
splintered
out
into
Marxist
15
Center.
different like subsections.
Then there was a Party of Socialism and Liberation and the Socialist Party USA, who uniformly and correctly observed that Obama is not a dictionary definition socialist because he has not called for the national government to nationalize the means of production.
He's not a socialist at all.
The problem here is that the dictionary definition of socialist sets an almost impossibly high bar for any leader.
Oh no!
Even Vladimir Lenin himself couldn't meet the standard. Actually, Lenin tried to implement pure socialism when he first came to power, but when his policies caused the Russian economy to collapse all around him, it wasn't the Civil War that was destroying the country? Okay.
No,
The invasion of 14 sovereign nations.
Exactly.
Nope.
Jesus.
In 1921, he abandoned literal socialism and replaced it with a pragmatic, expedient reform program called the New Economic Policy.
What?
Under NEP, Lenin permitted various privatizations while seeking state domination of the commanding heights of the economy. President Obama has emulated Lenin in striving to increase state control over such commanding heights of our economy as energy, healthcare, finance, and education, with smaller forays into food, transportation, and undoubtedly some areas in which I'm overlooking.
When
The
did that happen?
ACA is definitely Marxist-Leninist.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Besides mimicking some of Lenin's policy strategies, Obama also has adopted Karl Marx's strategies for gradually socializing an economy. Before I spell out the Marxian nature of many of Obama's policies, this is in Forbes. This isn't like Breitbart. This isn't like some
This
right-wing
is
rag.
ridiculous.
I
None
mean,
of
this
these
is a
people
right-wing
have
rag,
read
but not like...
a sentence of Marx, so it doesn't matter. Like, they'll believe anything that's shoveled towards them. In their faces.
He knows about the NEP, so he's probably read Kotkin or something.
Before I spell out the
Wikipedia.
Marxian nature of many of Obama's policies, let me emphasize that I am not calling Obama a, quote, Marxist-Leninist, period. Marxist-Leninist connotes the brutal, totalitarian police state of the late, unlamented Union of Soviet Socialist Republics.
I lament it. I lament the fuck out of it.
feel like shit, feel like pure shit, just want it back. There is no comparison between Barack Obama's statism and the genocidal, gulag-riddled regime of the Soviet communists. That being said, Obama's economic program is taken directly, if not deliberately, from the Marxist-Leninist playbook.
I fucking wish.
And on that basis, one may say Obama tends towards Marxist-Leninist economics.
Oh my god!
This is fucking absurd.
Besides adopting the Leninist strategy of seeking greater control over the commanding heights of the economy, if one reviews Marx's 10-point platform for how to socialize a country's economy in stages, Communist Manifesto, Chapter 2, one finds that Team Obama and his congressional progressive allies have taken actions to further the goals laid out in all 10 of the planks in Marx's platform. Here are some examples, with Marx's wording being revised for simplicity's sake.
Oh,
We're not good readers. So.
State control of real property. Team Obama repeatedly has thwarted the development of domestic energy supplies by asserting government ownership and asserting arbitrary regulatory control over massive acreage. 2. Progressive income taxes. Obama has an Ahab-like obsession with raising taxes on the rich, even though the top 1% of earners already pay 39% of the total income tax.
Want someone to get the billionaires? Jeez.
Number 3, abolition of inheritance. Obama favors reinstitution of estate taxes. Yeah, did he do it?
Yeah, no.
Also, it doesn't abolish your inheritance.
Yeah.
You just like get taxed on it.
Right.
Same difference.
4, confiscation of the property of immigrants and rebels. Team Obama has declared war on offshore tax havens, has sought legal jurisdiction to tax the offshore income of multinational corporations as well as foreign citizens and banks that have any investments in America. 5, centralization of the country's financial system in the hands of the state. Dodd-Frank was a huge step in this direction.
I can't now. I'm not even responding.
So for people who don't know what Dodd-Frank was, can you briefly summarize it?
It was a way to regulate the types of investments that banks could do with the money that was invested into banks, but has nothing to do with like state control of funds. It's a regulation of banks, which is not the same thing. Which is true about all of the things that Obama wanted to do. It was never about state control. It was about like minor regulations, which kind of like mildly went back to how it was before, but not all the way. So basically this person's arguing that if we aren't constantly headed towards like anarcho-capitalism, then it must be Marxism.
It is, yeah. Those are the only two things. All right, number 6, state control of means of communication and transportation. Team Obama has attempted to cow conservative media outlets like Fox News into submission through denunciation and has suggested reviving the so-called fairness doctrine and imposing heavier licensing fees on station owners. In the area of transportation, Obama insinuated government into the auto industry, has favored the high-speed rail boondoggle, and wishes he could compel us all to convert to, quote, green transportation.
Having a fairness doctrine reinstated won't matter because Britain currently has a fairness doctrine and they don't follow it. So just
what you're saying is that Britain's a Marxist-Leninist state?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Damn it, Corbin.
Number 7.
I don't know if that applies to like private or if it's just the BBC that has to follow the fairness doctrine.
Probably just their state organs.
Just the BBC,
but I mean,
but they
look
don't.
at the BBC. Yeah. Number 7, increase state control over means of production. Through his green energy subsidies, his failed cap and trade scheme, now via EPA regulation, Obama has sought state control over the industry on which most other industries depend, energy. Number 8.
All comes down to energy.
This definitely happened. Number 8, establishment of workers' armies.
Oh, yeah.
Obama has ramped up.
Did Obama start a people's army? I missed it.
I didn't tell me. What the fuck? I love Obama now? All right.
Marxism, Leninism, Maoism, Obamism.
Obamism.
Fuck. How did I miss this?
Obama has ramped up the number of Americans working for Uncle Sam by securing a large expansion of AmeriCorps and winning passage of his Serve
that's a
America
people's
app.
army.
He has also done everything he could to strengthen labor unions. Yeah, except pass card check, you motherfucker. All right. Number 9, control over where people live. Team Obama doesn't quite go this far, but one of the clear implications of cap and trade is that government could start to limit human mobility by controlling how far they can travel by capping energy consumption.
Oh, because capital doesn't do that already. Like, wow.
Hey.
In Brian Sussman's book Eco
But that was the
Tyranny,
market, man. That's not a command economy.
No, sorry. As long as the market can tell you where you're supposed to live, then it's okay.
That's
exactly.
true. Yeah. In Brian Sussman's book Eco Tyranny, you can read an executive order that Obama signed on October 5th, 2009 that would, quote, divide the country into sectors where all humans would be herded into urban hubs, while most of the land would be, quote, returned to a natural state upon which humans would only be allowed to tread lightly.
What?
This
When did
literally
this
sounds like
happen?
some Alex Jones.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I know that.
Agenda
definitely
21.
Also, that sounds pretty
hurt all.
dope. So.
Yeah.
is. Yeah, it sounds
It's
good to
gonna
me.
hurt all Americans into like our urban. I live in urban center Zeta, and
Remember death panels? Remember death
Oh, yeah.
panels?
Oh my god.
my favorite part of the 18th Brumaire was when Marx was like, "I support Obama's FEMA New World Order death camps." That was great.
Love it.
All right, number 10. Oh wait, no, that last one. Marx wanted on number 9 for where people live. Marx wanted more equal distribution of the human population between town and country, whereas Obama favors urban concentration. But both want to control where people live.
Jesus.
And then,
They're different, but don't be fooled. They're the same.
last but not least, free education. Do you all remember when Obama instituted free education?
Yeah, it was great.
That was
Yeah,
great.
that was awesome.
Obama has sought a federal government monopoly on student loans for higher education. In his 2012 State of the Union address, he called for additional funds for new federal education programs.
Additional funds. Wow. That's basically free education, guys.
Clearly.
How are you guys feeling? Those of you that are in college, how are you feeling about
Yeah,
free education?
Hey, I've been in college for like 5 years. I'm still paying that shit off, and I will be for a
Yeah.
very long time.
Forever.
So, yeah. Oh boy. Clearly, Barack Obama's policies have a distinctly Marxian flavor to them. But does that mean we're destined for socialism? Certainly not yet. But Marx knew that his 10 strategies would move a society towards socialism. The great free market economist Ludwig von Mises agreed with Marx.
Von Mises.
Agreed with Marx that government interventions breed further interventions and tend inexorably towards socialism.
I remember that
that's
text in
Keynesianism
Marx,
more
in
moron.
Marx tenets that government intervention leads to more government intervention. I remember
That's
that.
why all of the communist
I remember that. I
countries
think
were
that's in-
first
I think-
social democracies.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh, wait.
Well, remember, these 10 points are from a 30-page agitational pamphlet, right? Like, this guy is literally only citing...
People act like the communist man, like when Jordan Peterson was debating Zizek.
Yeah.
He's
He
like,
didn't even read it.
was the Communist Manifesto.
like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Oh, wait for
Zizek
this.
was like,
I also have not read any Marx. I am just an edgelord who calls myself a socialist to be edgy. All right.
He's a radical Hegelian.
Yeah. All right. Wait for this. Oh
Wait for
man.
the drop.
Yeah. Wait for the drop. Who? There is
Run
another.
some Christian dubstep.
this is my
Christ is. All right.
This is my blood. This is my body. This is my body. This is my blood. This is my body. This is my blood.
Can we come up with like a
please?
sample for that
Yeah,
so I
let's
can
get
make it the
Matt
outro? Oh jeez. Oh Christ.
Help us out here.
All right. There's another vital point. That was funny.
Oh fuck. Okay, sorry.
There is another vital point to understand about Marxist-Leninist economics. The greatest damage is done to the middle class. With his customary bloodthirsty malevolence, Lenin said, quote, "The way to crush the bourgeoisie," and then in brackets, the middle class, is to grind them between the millstones of taxation and inflation.
Holy shit.
Jesus Christ.
That
I just
is
love defining bourgeoisie as middle class. It's a banger.
Is bourgeoisie the most
amazing.
misunderstood term that comes from the Marxist tradition? Because it
saw-
must
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
I saw a certain page today that was like, never mind. I don't want to fucking start shit. Never mind.
What are you going to talk about? Do it.
nope.
I'll just cut it out. I just want to know what you're talking about.
The page was like, anytime someone is like, let's look at student loan forgiveness as an option, I have to laugh. Who do you think takes, or what class do you think takes out student loans? 2 cry emojis, 3 laugh emojis. And I'm like, the working class.
Yeah.
The bourgeoisie don't fucking take out
No,
loans for college.
You know whose stance
You
that is? That's
psychopath.
literally Pete Buttigieg's stance. Well, if we do free college, then it's going to give rich people free college. Like, that's, wow. Like, just
They
the
basically
unity.
already have free
Yes,
college.
exactly,
Like, it doesn't
exactly.
affect
Right.
Oh
them.
my God. All right.
God,
Freak, 'cause I paid
I
for
don't know
this
what to
shit.
fucking say about
I'm really
that shit.
disappointed
Alright.
with that article for not making a point about the ACA. Like, that was the biggest
Oh,
reform.
he doesn't mention it at all.
That's weird.
That
But let me
Obama's
just
known for.
let me just finish this off real quick. So already Obama's economic policies have hurt the middle class. They've enervated the job market, raised food and energy bills, and have been accompanied by falling incomes and net worth. If these are the results of Obama's partial steps in a Marxist-Leninist direction, imagine the damage that would be wrought by a fuller implementation of such an agenda. In closing, I repeat that we should not recklessly call Obama a Marxist-Leninist. Although it's too long and cumbersome a label for a generation addicted to sound bites and simplistic labels, okay, boomer. A fair description of Obama and his economic goals is to say that he is, quote, an interventionist, corporatist, statist, big government progressive, free market hating control freak who favors economic policies of a Marxist-Leninist flavor, end quote.
Wow, that's a
Who is that
lot of
quote?
fucking buzzwords.
That's him. He's saying...
Why did he put it in quotes then? That's his quote. You fucker.
Dr. Mark W. Hendrickson is an adjunct faculty member, economist, and fellow for economic and social policy with
Adjunct faculty member?
with the Center for Vision and Values at Grove City College.
What a cop. Like, how are you going to be an adjunct and then be like, I hate all things which might move us towards Keynesian economics.
The boot.
Those
Like, he
are
just loves the taste of
Marxist-Leninism.
boots.
Get the fuck out.
Okay.
I'm making $14,000 a year, but
Okay.
fuck government programs.
So I got a couple of fun questions to kind of lighten the mood a little bit because that was rough.
Yeah.
And then I'll go into my last one of my things, which is a new segment, which I think it'll be fun. I spent a lot of time working on it today. It's not Ultras or Stankies.
I love
That was a good one, though.
That
was
was
a good one.
it'll be back. Ultras, right wing blog or Ultras versus Tankies will return. Okay. So this is from Jerome. Subject: academia battle. Which of the Proles Pod professors would win in a battle of academia? Hyder or Grover Furr?
Probably Hyder, because he'd like...
Well, battle of academia, like,
Yeah.
I mean, if it was like a fist fight, Hyder, obviously. Protein.
even in like an academic debate, because Hyder is just like relentless, fucking relentless. That man, I've never seen anyone who is like first of all has this like weird grasp of esoteric knowledge, but also never stops. Just boundless energy. Grover Furr is just
Grandpa.
he's grandpa.
Love
Grandpa.
We love him, but
There's no way that he would.
we love him, folks. But yeah.
Hyder would just
So probably Hyder
into submission.
Yeah, because he can.
Should Hyder win?
That's another question.
Well, yeah. No,
But why would they be
I
arguing?
have literally 4 questions here about Hyder.
What's going on with Hyder?
This is from Jason. Subject: Hyder al-Muhammad. Have we never doxed him on? I think you can find. You can find. Oh, did
he
he?
doxed
Okay.
himself. Yeah.
All right. I'm an avid fan of the show and a Marxist-Leninist communist. All of those are in caps. Through hearing everyone speak on any leftist podcast, including RevLeft, Hyder seemed the most well-informed and knowledgeable. I understand he was a professor of anthropology. Is he okay? And what is he up to now? Is there any way to contact him?
Know.
Well, and we'll say this online. Is there a way to contact him for questions of a general education reason? No, I'm not a pig or a government person. Thanks, Jason.
Nice try, FBI.
Wow, that definitely
Just
convinces
again,
me.
we don't know where Hyder is.
don't.
He is not in the
They
U.S.
said they're not a cop, therefore they can't be a cop.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but like honestly,
Hey,
we
you want
don't know
some
where he
weed?
is.
He's in the UK. That's what we know.
Yeah.
We don't know what he's doing. We don't know if
we
he's
just gotta
working.
send
He doesn't keep in
some
touch.
He
going.
doesn't talk to us.
He doesn't call. He doesn't write.
He doesn't write us. And that's probably has something to do with the FBI investigation against him.
Yeah.
But
He
there's
also
nothing-
got mad because we deleted his sports channel on Discord.
It's back now.
It's back.
Is it really?
Hyder's channel is the sports channel in Discord. Okay. This is from Vinny R. Hello, comrades. I just wanted to say before my question, I'm a huge fan of your podcast.
Oh,
Thanks, Vinny. I was just wondering what you guys thought about the Party of Communist USA and of Comrade Angelo D'Angelo. Solidarity Forever.
I honestly don't know enough about PCUSA.
I have never heard of them outside of the internet, and I don't know who Angelo D'Angelo is.
Yeah,
But
they don't organize in our area.
they're not. I mean, very few people do, but
Sad.
sad. Okay.
Have you guys heard of Colorado Springs Socialists?
Oh yeah.
Never again. All right.
Okay.
Maybe when we do like a street battle with them in a few months. Yeah.
All right. This is from Mahir.
Maybe we can do it when Gabe does his march of like 15 flags.
He was so into marches.
Yeah. He
What
was
was
like,
up with that?
he was like
Obsessed
for
with
aesthetics. Is
For the dude who never fucking showed up or got arrested, he really loved to do
He
stuff
set up
that
a
like
march
can
and
get
then
other
wasn't
people
here,
arrested.
and then you got arrested for
What
it.
a clown.
Incredible.
All right. So,
Dipshit.
yeah. So this is from Mahir. I can't find any info on the brilliant hosts of this podcast, question mark. Who are they? Do they have social media?
No.
No, we don't.
No.
Sorry. Just
Social
listen to
what?
the show. Social what?
Fucking Jeremy tags me all the time in memes where he's just like, hey, when's that brewery open up? What, man?
Well, you're commenting on your
I
own.
mean, yeah, like I'm already out there.
Taylor
Like,
gets doxxed 24/7.
I just really liked. Fuck.
Yeah.
I was
always commenting on there. Otherwise, I wouldn't.
yeah,
I was
did.
cackling reading about the Bitcoin mining thing.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
For those of you who aren't aware, in
Yeah.
Colorado Springs, there's a big like building that
like a
they've-
warehouse.
It's like a warehouse that they filled with a bunch of computers. They're Bitcoin mining, and the neighbors were complaining about the noise from all the computers and the cooling equipment.
Yeah.
and so it's been this saga. So they put up a bunch of like
Shipping containers.
and stacked them up in front of the building to like muffle the sound. But then we got a bunch of high wind a couple of weeks ago, and a bunch
It
of them
blew
like,
him
fell
down. Yeah. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. What a fucking stupid
so dumb.
set of. Yeah, I don't know.
It's so dumb.
Did you see that there was this guy who went to the DPRK and gave a talk on how to set up cryptocurrency mining
God damn it.
facilities in the
Was it that
DPRK?
anarchist? Was that anarchist that wanted to
but-
give the what was it?
The
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Yeah, but the thing is, the DPRK is into it.
They're into cryptocurrency.
Yes, they're like this is a way that we can get around the dollar.
That's
as
what
Okay,
they did
sure.
in Venezuela, right? Was
Yes,
created
they're also working. Yeah, they have their own the petrodollar or something.
Yeah.
That's a cryptocurrency.
Is that Dogecoin?
Dogecoin. Yeah. So but anyway, this guy gave this talk in the DPRK, and
When you
then
get a second.
as he left, he was then arrested
Good.
and detained by the FBI.
Not good.
Because he was giving away state secrets or like state technological
Hell
whatever
yeah.
the fuck else.
Hey man, you buy a
It
bunch
was
of
so
graphic
goofy.
cards and just fucking mine bitcoins.
That's the state secret.
Like that's like literally all it is like processors are too expensive right now, so just buy fucking graphics
That's
cards
actually
and use
what
their
our-
processors to fucking mine bitcoins.
What do you think all the Patreon money's going towards?
What's behind this curtain?
Well, it's
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Behind the curtain, we got a server farm.
it's like
Yeah,
the shit
yeah.
where
I
like
heard the
I
house,
think NASA built a computer with a bunch of PS3s. Like it was like a fucking room
Nice.
with just PS3s
like chained together
because
Oh my
they're like, oh
God.
yeah, there's like it's like the easiest and cheapest way, and like it's already set up, and we
Yeah,
can just
that
use
makes
the
sense.
processors to just fucking get shit going.
Why
It's
is
like
NASA mining Bitcoin?
big state secret. Well, no, this was for something else.
Oh,
But like
okay.
it's like state secrets like that where it's literally just
That's
like,
how NASA
hey,
gets his budget.
how can we
They
put
get it
a
from
bunch of
fucking
computers
government.
together?
Oh man.
Fucking ridiculous.
Okay.
State secrets. Here's a secret: the state's full of fucking idiots. Like,
All right. This is from Discord Comrade. What kind of books are you enjoying right now? This is nice. Let's go around in a circle.
Okay. Well, I don't read books that I enjoy.
Justin doesn't do anything for pleasure.
I don't.
It's like my life is hell.
Always studying for a podcast. And so just so happens that I am wrapping up. So by the time this comes out, we'll have already recorded it, but we're recording an episode on the Black Bolshevik, an actual episode on the Black Bolshevik tomorrow. And it is probably the best book I've ever read, or one of the best books I've ever read, hands down. I haven't finished it yet because it's 700 pages. I'm like
It's that unredacted copy.
it's like 300. I'm like 350 pages into it. It's so fucking good.
You can get the other half by tomorrow, right?
No, but I'm not talking on it, so it doesn't matter. After that, I have to go back to reading about like fucking Ceausescu, which I hate.
Yeah, that shit sucks.
Yeah,
I'm not
but
looking forward to that.
but I gotta.
But we gotta do
after
it.
that, I've got 2 more books I've got to read on Nicolae Ceausescu, and in anticipation of the Romania episode next month, which I'm not excited about. But you take one for the team.
Thank you for your service.
I guess right now I'm just kind of rereading stuff.
What stuff?
Let's see. I just reread A Scanner Darkly just for fun. Been reading a lot of.
Oh, I've never read that.
Imagine
one.
reading
Oh, it's
for fun.
good. Yeah.
I mean, I like most of PKD's stuff
Uh,
that I've read.
yeah,
I just
he's
haven't read that
a
one.
good writer. But yeah, it's good. Good read. Yeah, I just need a little break because I feel like for the last few years I've just been reading nothing but theory and history. So it's like,
Fuck theory. Do shit.
yeah, yeah. That's it, really.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've been rereading Brilliant Imperfection, Grappling with Cure by Eli Clare. And it's queer theory about the medical industrial complex.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's a really good critique of capitalism and the idea of cure and like what's normal and not normal. And it's written from the author's perspective with his own health issues, and it incorporates a lot of prose and poetry. So it's actually a quick read. It's only like 200 or 300 pages. But it's really heavy, but it's really good.
Dang,
That's
that
awesome.
sounds dope. We should do an episode on that.
Yes.
Sure.
Get ready.
Do the whole episode.
Get ready.
Do it.
So I'm also currently reading for pleasure. Sorry, Justin.
It's fucked up.
I just finished Paolo Bacigalupi's The Water Knife, which is a sci-fi tale that kind of
Never heard
in
of it.
the PKD tradition
Oh, okay.
of like kind of like more understandable under like her, or I guess a more natural understanding of how the dissolution of society will operate. But climate change has wreaked havoc on the American Southwest, and the Colorado River is being monopolized by Las Vegas.
Oh, shit.
There's these water knives that go and like murder and like use legal papers to carve out sections of the major river sources in the Southwest to keep them for specific areas. And so like California and Nevada and Arizona are all fighting for water. So I just finished that, and then I'm actually reading 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami.
Murakami, yeah.
So I think
How's that?
it's either like if I'm not reading like the occasional like actual fun fiction book, it's usually something along the lines of theory or
History.
a lot of like brewing science and knowledge stuff. So
I'm not reading like a whole lot at this point, just because I'm in the home stretch of my degree program.
Yas, King.
Fuck, it's almost over. But yeah, I'm reading in preparation for the episode on Libya and Gaddafi.
You're reading the Green Book.
Reading neocon
nice.
sources.
Very cool.
Because not enough people from the left are writing about Gaddafi.
Hey, it turns out that's a really big problem in history, like the history field.
Yeah.
It is very difficult. Did I give you my vision?
You did. I haven't read that one
Okay.
yet, but I'm still reading Farewell to the General or Farewell to the Colonel. Sorry, Farewell to the Colonel.
It's wild because when I went into it, like trying to like get books for Jeremy to read, I figured because Libya, especially in recent times, has been such a massive topic that there will be more books on it. There is like almost nothing that exists. It is wild.
It sucks.
There's like 5 books that have been written about Libya. It's bullshit.
Right. And it's, this guy is like definitely anti-communist, definitely anti-liberal, anti-left. Like just, he's ex-military, ex-State Department.
It's so hard.
A real
to read those
winner.
Authors. Yeah,
Yep.
that's a
Yeah.
Cool
grind.
dude.
It's real good. It's real good. I love it. Love reading it.
And then for me, I'm just alternating between so I'm reading and rereading King Lear because I'm memorizing that because my theater company's doing that in a minute. And I have to memorize all the parts except for King Lear, which is a pain in the ass. But in between that, I'm also reading a couple things on Ceausescu because I'm also going to be doing the Romania thing. But then I was like, I should start something that's not nonfiction, which I guess would make it fiction. So I started reading Lincoln in the Bardo, which is, it's George Saunders, I think. It's kind of about like Abraham Lincoln, so obviously like that sucks.
the famed vampire hunter.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. No, like his son died, but it's about like him. It's weird. It's complicated. It's pretty good. I'm halfway through it. I'm also trying to restart after the Ceausescu episode. I'm going to start rereading Gene Wolfe's The Book of the New Sun, which is like a sci-fi fantasy kind of thing. It starts with The Shadow of the Torturer. It's like classic like pulp sci-fi. It's fun. It's fun stuff though.
It's one of the books in our
Nice.
fake universe.
What? The Book of the New Sun? Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Oops. That's what I'm reading. The second question from Discord Comrade was, what's your favorite historical topic that most people probably don't know about? Which is a good question.
That is a good question.
Mine is Afghanistan, like probably the history of Afghanistan. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Episode when?
Yeah, we need probably summer.
Didn't you read
We
the
should- we
fucking
need to
book
do it.
already?
Yeah, I've read it.
Why did we not do an episode on
Because he
that?
doesn't like doing episodes.
I hate doing episodes.
Coward. I'm gonna do it with him, so
okay.
we'll be okay. All right.
Hold this.
I've read half of it, so I can just
squeeze it-
finish
squeeze it
it,
when he
and then
gets tired.
I can come on too.
Nice.
Yeah.
I can't do the episode, but I can carry you. All right.
Oh, I don't know.
Favorite historical topic that most people don't know about?
Oh, jeez.
What about the episode that you studied for but didn't do?
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. I started studying for an episode on, I guess, the national question in the Soviet Union and what they did to build up their smaller ethnic groups and not let
Which
them be
BTW
erased.
is a lot and amazing.
A lot, yeah, no, it is, and
Is that
that's actually
before or
something I need
after
to
they
finish.
deported all the Kalmyks?
So,
Shut the fuck up.
yeah, so I guess I know a bit about that. I read some good
Episode
sources,
when?
and then
About a year
You know
ago.
what?
Yeah.
I'm
At this
over
point,
the
we're
end.
backed up to what, like 2023 or something like that. Like,
Probably.
Yeah,
Man.
so-
Yeah, people keep asking, like, are you going to do an episode on such and such? I'm like, homie,
Stop.
I have no idea.
But actually, once we're moved and my shit's out of storage, then
Nice.
that's gonna be. I actually have time now because I don't work full time. I work 0.8, so 32 hours a week. So that's
Nice.
I actually have the time to read now. And
Does that mean they don't
I'm
give
not
you,
good.
like, benefits?
no, I do actually. Luckily,
Wow.
Anything more than 30,
0.5.
30 hours or
for where I work, it's anything half time or more.
Wow,
Benefits.
that's
That's
wild.
really
Which is
nice.
surprising. Yeah,
That's wild because
yeah.
I've been at
That's
places
basically
where
Marxist Leninist.
they'll give you 39. They'll give you 39.8 hours just to
Oh,
avoid paying
yeah.
you
Yeah,
and
right,
giving you
yeah.
I think
benefits.
the rule is 35. If
Okay.
it's
Is it?
more than
Yeah.
35, they have to give you.
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they should give
where I
so much
work.
more,
It's
but-
that we have full time 38 and full time 40 is like the two full time slots.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing because the Soviet Union did. They built schools where people were educated in their ethnic languages, and each state was.
It's a lot. And
allowed to
we'll talk
build
about
up
some
their
of it when we
culture.
talk about Black Bolshevik.
Yeah,
he
yeah.
covers
Oh,
a lot of
yeah.
it.
Well, and like historically, that's something that all socialist states have done.
Yeah.
and it's like one of those things that I think it would be a topical episode right now because
It was
like
pioneered by none other than Joey Steele.
Our
Yeah.
old boy Joe.
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
and. But again, I think it's topical now because like the conversation surrounding the CCP and the Uyghurs is like
Right.
there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot
Right.
of propaganda about it, and it's like socialist states have never
Right.
been the kind of places that do what people are saying are being done right now.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's-
they've done the exact
Except
opposite.
Romania. I
But you
guess.
can just say whatever about them.
Romania,
Romania.
was so weird. Romania was such a weird place, man.
I've got opinions on it. I'm excited to talk about it.
no, it'll be interesting. The discourse will be intense.
Because it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't like
good.
It was reactionary, but it wasn't like there wasn't a reason that they were being reactionary. There was like a clear cut path as to why they got there. In
it
my
was
opinion,
like, yeah, I mean, like it was bad, but for good reasons.
right? I mean, for reasons. I wouldn't say good reasons.
Okay, but for like reasons that you can trace.
Yes, exactly. It wasn't just like out of the
Yeah, they were just
blue,
like, let's just be terrible.
let's just be
Like,
bad.
no,
Yeah.
let's make some bad choices based
Yeah.
on these
Right.
things. That,
Actual things.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, I was trying not to open a beer into the mic.
Open the beer into the mic.
Jeremy like does it on
Sometimes
purpose.
I'll like
So does Junior. He's like,
Yeah, no, people. It's
to hear
okay.
it.
It's whatever.
gives it a little sound effect. It's like a soundboard.
oh, they really are
Beer
drinking.
If you can tell. I'm sure there's a lot
That you know a little bit
Ooh,
about.
I don't know about
What
that.
do you know about that most people don't?
I would say I know a lot about healthcare and like
Oh, yeah.
the progression of healthcare in America specifically, and how like foundational capitalism is to our current health system, and how that affects how you're treated, the understanding of medicine that your doctors like know, like what they were trained on, and yeah, so just like everything on that. And
Yeah, it's like one of those weird things that you don't really think about unless somebody points it out to you. Is that a lot of medicine is built around what is the norm, and the norm is basically white cis men.
yeah,
Women,
Of a certain like weight, right?
Women as a category are considered not normal. Basically, like
Yeah.
men, like tests historically. Obviously, more recently it's been different, but in the past, a lot of medicine was based around, unless it was related specifically to like reproduction.
Yeah.
It was based around men, and then women were measured against men in terms of like how can we adjust dosage versus the norm, which was men.
I mean, birth control was first tested on men, and that's even reproductive
That
health.
was the wildest fucking thing. Birth control tested on men.
Or there are like 19th century medical journals that will talk about how like women's bodies are confusing, so it takes them like longer to urinate and like stuff
I don't understand how this works. This is befuddling to me.
basically.
Oh man.
But yeah,
Just a bunch of 19th century, 18th century incels. Sitting in a circle, just like, dude, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
yeah.
We should do an episode
We
on
are going
US
to do an
healthcare?
episode on healthcare.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Savannah.
Because Alex,
I would love to
Savannah
be
knows
that.
about it.
Oh, yeah.
Alex knows about it.
That's-
Erica knows about it.
Man,
we
that'd
can
be
get them all
dope.
on
Oh
here.
man,
Yeah.
that'd be
Just
fucking
make
dope
sure to
as
go
hell.
at it.
Dope as hell. Cool.
BMIs are so fucked
Oh,
up.
Yeah,
it's
BMI
so
is
it's
a-
I've
ridiculous.
never
It's
been in a
just-
healthy BMI by like height by weight because it's crap. It's total crap. It's
Like
making
an
sense.
BAI, like body
Big
alcohol.
boy. I'm sorry, ABV. My body ABV.
My body's at a constant 5% ABV.
I try.
There is we can't detect blood in his alcohol strain.
That's the way I want it. But yeah, no, it's messed up. Like if your
Just-
body type does not fit into such a narrow conception of what healthy looks
Exactly.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
You're
fucking wild.
treated as
We will do an episode on this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, we
just
kind of
a-
we touched on some of this in like that reproductive
Well, and that's,
health
like,
stuff,
Yeah.
and just like the
Yeah.
horror of.
As a subsection on that episode, when we get to it, we should just lay into fucking CrossFit. Like that's like
You don't like lifting tires?
Well, here's the thing: is like when we talk about
Here's the
health
thing.
and like and
Here's the
weight
lift
and
tires.
I can't lift tires. Damn,
I mean,
dude.
I could maybe try. I'd fuck that though.
I can lift bike tires.
But like when it comes to the idea of health and like BMI and stuff like that, like there's been this reaction in the past 20 years, and I'm somewhat intimate with this because my mom really got into CrossFit, and my parents are reactionary and like.
They like
two
pop us
go
out.
hand
Can
in
they beat
hand,
the
really.
fuck out of
Oh
you?
no! I mean, like for a while, my mom was really buff, and like it's just this weird thing where
She beat
like
the shit out of it.
That's actually what happened to your hip.
I didn't break my femur
ass
on
sticks
a
me.
bike.
It's
my mom just like karate chopped
His
my
mom,
leg.
his mom Hadoukened him. And just like,
I fell off my bike.
But no, like it's like I think that there's this reaction of like the understanding of like what health is supposed to look like in the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
leads into shit like CrossFit, which is literally like fucking the Ayn Rand like weight loss system or like whatever it is. It's like it is.
Yeah.
It's like it's a pyramid scheme and fucking exercise all in one. But
and
it's not
it's
even
an absurdly high injury rate.
Yeah, it's not even normal
It's-
exercise. It's
it's
like, hey, can
dumb.
we make this as high impact and
It's
shitty for your
slightly
body as
better
possible?
than what is the insanity workout,
I don't
which
think
is
it's
like
better.
a response.
What is
I think it's
that?
worse.
That's all body weight.
What
Like
the
you're
hell's
not
the
lifting
insanity
anything.
workout?
Insanity
It's
is
a
like-
DVD
yeah.
series that you can get. I had to do it in high school as part of my gym.
oh god.
Yeah.
What is it?
It's just really intense.
It was
it's
a
like high
response to
intensity
CrossFit, but it was like
workout.
we're going to be more extreme.
Insanity is like
More extreme than
aerobics.
CrossFit?
Like we're gonna
Yes.
vomit at worst. With
Yeah,
CrossFit,
you
you're
shouldn't
gonna
hurt
get
yourself.
Fuck up your joints and stuff.
you're gonna destroy your joints, and you're gonna get rhabdomyolysis, which
What's
is when
that?
you destroy your muscles so badly that they just start degrading. Like, and
Yikes.
you have like massive bleeding and whoops, and yeah, it's really bad.
You have massive
Like,
bleeding. Whoops.
Perfect. Yeah,
Oh,
I probably mispronounced
Not
that.
great.
It's done 4
It's
years
like,
in, but
hey, you know what? Who cares?
no,
I don't see
really
any cops
bad.
around here. Do you?
Bad for you. Yeah, it's CrossFit's
Oh man.
kind of freaky. Like, yeah.
Death to CrossFit.
Yeah.
Taylor.
So kind of like super on brand, but like the history of food and especially fermentation and like.
Yes.
So I think that like it's one that we're going to do an episode on, but it's really a difficult topic because it's extensive. I mean, like food is the reason why we like.
That's possibly the only subject we would do that's bigger than art. Is the history of food.
It's,
I mean,
because it's crazy because like
art is food.
if you think
Food is
about
art.
like the reason why we moved from a hunter-gatherer society to like a slowly congregating and then eventually industrializing society is because of our ability to grow food in one place. Like as soon as we knew what grains could do, and especially grains, like, and this is why also like the idea of like keto is fucking ridiculous and like I don't know, like if you're a celiac, I understand. Like there is a natural intolerance to the body for celiacs to gluten, but like the reason why we settle down is because of our ability to grow and consume.
What about my paleo
grain.
diet?
Well, like they also only live to like 30 years old in Paleolithic times. So like
there is the theory that that it was actually the fermentation of grains, which actually led to sedentism, not the consumption for the sake of
and that's where I'm getting to is like and that's why like I mean I'm a brewer.
Civilization.
I'm a brewer, and I love beer as like a product. I like making it. I like to share it with people. But yeah, it was essentially like the understanding that like when you ferment these things, and it was very rudimentary back then, but like as it progressed, like it was like, cool, we can settle down, we can grow this shit, and then dude, we can get ripped. And like that's and so like that the history of that too.
Except like it was like 3-2 beer at that point. So
well, it was probably
it
was probably even lower because
like
like
2.5.
Oh yeah, like natural fermentation like that was also built heavily around lactobacillus and pediococcus, like bacteria.
Oh sure.
That produce acids.
I don't know what those are.
And what those do is they produce acids more so than they produce alcohol. Yeast produces alcohol, bacteria produces acid.
So sour beer was the first beer.
Oh yeah, I mean, like until pasteurization. Well, I mean, even prior to like Louis Pasteur, beer had been able to kind of become clean as far as like not being wild and sour and stuff like that. But like it really wasn't until Louis Pasteur could isolate yeast strains that we knew, oh, we can just like isolate this, propagate this, and make beer taste the same every fucking time. Nice. But like I think the history of humanity is intimately tied to the history of fermentation.
Sure.
Because fermentation is, especially in northern climates, is the only way to eat during the winter. Whether that's, lacto fermentation or dry curing or things like that. Like all these things have helped a lot of people live throughout, millennia. And I don't know. Again, it's a huge topic, like fermentation is super cool, and like we're still discovering so much about it, and like I read a lot about it all the time. But yeah, like food and just like man, food as like a prehistoric thing, or like I guess like a pre-modern history, or like I don't even know how to describe it, but like, hey, thanks, bud.
I gotta get out. I can't get out.
I can't escape.
I'm trapped.
Whoa. Need a bigger studio.
Oh god. Just fucking everything up, Ethan.
Oh, just be careful. This is like
it's not super sturdy.
Oh god. Oh god, Ethan, don't die.
All right, keep going.
But I think also the one of the things that I really want to talk about with food is like the movement of food as a domestic product to food as a commercial product, because like you see, like when I went to culinary school, we talked heavily about like the establishment of the brigade system, where it's like essentially a military brigade within a kitchen, and that was proposed and designed by Escoffier, who, if you have listened to the Ho Chi Minh episode, you know that Ho Chi Minh cooked under Escoffier.
I just had to edit it for 16 hours.
But so like what happens, and I think what's happened with a lot of things, is that these were domestic products that were typically made by the keepers of the house and the community, which historically were often women. Right. And then as soon as it can be commercialized and glorified, and people can say, oh, well, like, look at this chef, they're a big name, they're something, it becomes this very machismo, masculine dominated industry. And so I think there's a lot to be talked about as far as like modern food, but just food as a historical concept. So that's what I know, which is kind of niche. I think this is all niche, but
yeah, no one knows about that. So, Jeremy,
amazing. I like how Ethan just like pees in the backyard. It's just like,
it's pitch black out there.
So I think one of the topics that I'm really interested in, that I think has a lot of deep and like sort of existential, but also kind of Marxist-Leninist categories in terms of like weird history that most people don't know about, is the Emu Wars.
Really?
No.
I don't know much about the Emu Wars, so for all I know, that could be
Oh my
real.
god, the Emu Wars is so fucking funny. So like Australia is a meme. Like it doesn't really exist. It's not a real place.
True.
It is purely made up for the sake of making memes, for the sake of like a joke. It's not a real country. But they deal with problems in very interesting ways.
I mean, it's a former penal colony, so
Yep. So the Emu Wars were about emus being a nuisance to farmers. So they decided that they were going to get together. Like, I'm fairly certain their military. I'm pretty sure their military was involved in this, and helicopters. And they
When was this?
No,
I don't think the Emu War was that recent.
they had
did not have
helicopters.
No
They were
way.
using helicopters. Yeah.
1932.
There
were no helicopters in 1932.
Might have been planes.
The
but
first
it was,
operational helicopter was in 1936.
Fuck.
What happened to
Get
the
out of
camera?
here.
They
Did it
were in
fall off?
planes. They used air warfare.
We couldn't get it working.
Oh, okay.
They used what?
They used air warfare.
So fly like strafing the.
They might have been planes. I don't know.
They probably were. I don't think they were helicopters.
Kites with grenades where they like rip cord and drop them.
In World War One, they used incendiary balloons a lot.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay. On 2 November, the men traveled to Campion, where some 50 emus were sighted. As the birds were out of range of the guns, the local settlers attempted to herd the emus into an ambush, but the birds split into small groups and ran, so they were difficult to target.
God damn it.
So an emu was like an ostrich, right?
It is. It's like a slightly smaller, ostrich, large flightless bird. Nevertheless, while the first fusillade from the machine guns was ineffective due to the range, a second round of gunfire was able to kill a number of birds, in quotation marks. Later the same day, a small flock was encountered, and perhaps a dozen birds were killed. The next significant event was on 4 November. Meredith had established an ambush near a local dam.
What the
Like, these are fucking military combatants.
Did the emu fight back? Like, wow.
Well, they won. And more than 1,000 emus were spotted heading toward their position. This time, the gunners waited until the birds were in close proximity.
1,000 hostiles incoming.
I busted me plugger. The gun jammed after only 12 birds were killed, and the remainder...
There are thousands.
The remainder scattered before any more could be shot. No birds were sighted that day. It's so fucking ridiculous. I mean, it's just like, it's absolutely ludicrous. They were hoping that they could bring in these machine guns and just like mow down thousands of emus.
The guns kept jamming.
Like, have you seen Australia? It's like
big.
The West Coast, a handful of like habitable zones, the North Coast, a handful of habitable zones, the South Coast, a handful of habitable zones, and the East Coast, a handful of habitable zones. The middle is a fucking desert. Like, people who lived in Australia before it was Australia were hunter-gatherers who roamed over hundreds of kilometers because you can't like sustain some sort of an existence living in one place in the middle of Australia. So
fucking settlers.
These emus are everywhere, all over the place, roaming all over the country.
They're organized.
Right. And they won because you can't like hunt down tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of emus.
So aside from that, what is the most niche
no,
thing?
okay, sorry, that was my joke answer.
Okay, I like the emu war. That's hilarious.
I don't know that I have like any special knowledge on some subject that people don't.
I have approximate knowledge of many things.
That's basically me. Yeah, jack of all trades, master of none. So I've got like this. So I've got this idea, right? Like this thing that I really want to look into in terms of like what I would like to do in the future of my academic career and what I'm interested in, which is looking at the dialectics of power, like why particular people and particular organizations, institutions, governments, whatever, choose specific paths when they have choices, right? Like why would you choose this over this other thing? Often it's going to be a matter of what's the most efficient to you, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's something else, something that's less efficient. But what are the factors that kind of push you in that direction? And I don't know. I've got some like weird ideas that I haven't fully fleshed out in that direction, but that's a thing I would like to talk about at some point in the future, which I'm
Jeremy's
really interested
book when?
Probably 10 years.
All right, Ethan,
Watch
the
this
last
space.
one.
I mean, I also have kind of an approximate knowledge of a lot of things. I could talk for a long time about. I could talk about theater for a long time, but no one ever wants to talk about it,
Nope.
so I don't ever get to hear
Why you
about
have
it.
your own podcast about theater?
Well, I have another thing where I interview local people in the theater community, and we talk about that. But
It's pretty sweet.
you didn't listen to it.
I listened to part of one of them. Yeah.
Which one?
The first one.
Oh, that was like the least good one.
It was a bit rough, but it's fine.
Well, yeah, she had to go. It was
Yeah.
quick. Some of them it's getting better.
I haven't
like,
finished it though.
The one
so
I just
they
did
might
was
get
like it was very good. All right. No, yeah, I don't know. Theater and art is the thing I spend a lot of time on.
that, like 5.5 hour episode you did already.
Well, it'll be 5.5 hours when Mitch and I finally do the second part.
When is that happening?
I don't know. Mitch is really busy.
It's a good episode. It's a really good episode.
Did you listen to it?
It's so
It's
long.
good.
But it's so good.
I wish you'd been there, man.
I know,
Because
I
like
wanted
some of the
to.
early stuff, I was like anthropology.
Yes,
like,
because there were many
I
times.
thought you were like listening.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
Yeah, as you were
jump in.
talking and you were like, yeah, it's something about like Neanderthal thing. And I was like, I have things to say.
Yeah. Well, the part 2 is just going to be on the
Are you
20th
just gonna
century. but-
critique a bunch of dudes that only had like the ability to draw with?
No, they
No.
had good ass art, man.
They had really
you
good
weren't
art.
there.
Yeah,
I'm just-
they did.
You weren't there.
I'm fucking around, bro.
Canceled.
Canceled.
Nothing.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll just say like art and theater, just because that's probably most people don't know about it, honestly. So that was a good question, though. So there are a couple of other new segments that we're going to debut in the future, but the only new one we're going to debut now, because this is a history podcast, I'm going to go through some of the like events that happened in December, that have historically happened in December, because this episode's coming out in December. So I'm going to go through December and talk about, I'm obviously going to miss some things because a lot of things have happened in all of the Decembers that have happened in human history. But yeah.
December is a unit of measurement, and
That's an
not a big fan of those. So if we could stop saying December,
Man, that take.
I still occasionally think about it, and I'm like, there's a point where you can just stop, and you've gone far past
My
it.
favorite was the
Extremely
person who was
online.
like, "How is baking going to work?" And they were like, "You just put the ingredients together and you just
Yeah.
make the oven hot and just put it until it's the right color."
Yeah.
The internet is a wild place.
I mean, this is essentially true when you go back to like wood burning stoves where you got to put in like an uneven assortment of
Right.
fucking wood to get the temperature
then,
to
like,
a particular
regardless
thing
of
that you
control.
can't measure. But like, it's much easier now. Like measurements
doesn't
make our
need to
lives
be that
easier.
way.
Like,
That's the
that's
thing.
just the cooking aspect of it. Like,
Right.
what
Yeah.
about the actual making of it?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
like baking and things like
Baking
that
is precise.
They're
Yes.
precise.
It is precise.
It's chemistry based. Like, you have to have the right amount of things.
There's a huge difference between like puff pastry and bread. Like the amount of, it's virtually the same ingredients, but the amount
And, like,
of each one
but
makes
here's-
a huge
here's-
difference.
Anti-authoritarian.
Here's a
you're
really
opposed
important
to
part.
So
concepts of
stupid.
measurement.
We'll get to this when we talk about the history of food.
And I know
but
this
like,
because I watched the Great British Bake Off.
It's amazing.
Oh yeah, it's
an
good stuff.
important part of fucking food.
Don't fuck food, Taylor. Don't fuck
fuck
food.
Corny left confirmed.
You're not gonna have enough energy.
The important part about food, historically, for our survival, is that not only does it have to have nutrients, but it needs to taste good. Like humans want shit to taste good
On the phone?
for the sake of.
This fucking guy.
Are you on the
He's
phone?
on the phone.
I'm sorry we're interrupting. Damn, dude.
Are you checking voicemail?
No, but so anyway.
Yeah, no, like food has to taste good,
Yeah, no,
right?
it
So like, it's
does.
not just like, I don't know, just throw this amount of salt, this amount of
it'll be
sugar,
fine.
throw this in there, and like,
It's
yeah, bleh.
technically edible.
Because here's what's gonna happen: is gonna waste ingredients, and like historically, it was kind of important to not fucking waste
Right.
ingredients. Like I can go to the store
didn't
and
have a
buy
ton
a
of surplus.
bag of flour. Right. Like I can buy a bag of flour for like $1, right? You know, whatever. Boom, I can make whatever I want.
That's just such a
Fuck that
ludicrous take.
I
it's
still
just-
think about that take.
Like,
and
I mean, if you look at it from one perspective, it's just like chef kiss on every finger. Like it's just like such perfect online discourse. But like on the another, like every other level, it's just like I can't even handle this. I can't do it. I don't know.
so anyway, the unit of measurement of the last month of the Julian calendar, December, events that have happened. Let's go.
So I'm just gonna go through. Feel free to comment, jump in. All right. So nothing happened on December 1st. No, I'm sure something.
Going through every day.
Nothing happened.
Sick.
I'm not going through every day, but
Let's go hour by hour.
well, no, the problem is, like, again, I'm gonna miss a bunch of stuff. We're trying to do on our Twitter now is like just kind of every day, like a thing that happened instead of beefing with people.
Nah.
It's exhausting.
12.
I mean,
but
Ethan's a vegetarian, so he don't do beef.
I'm carroting with people.
Ethan ate.
Quinoa log. We were
I
just
got a
at
bad quinoa log with people.
we were just at the grocery store. They were selling these things. It's like a chunk of quinoa. It's like ready to slice. That's what it said. I was like, wow, this looks so gross. All right, so
Just reminds me of 303.
I can't do the thing.
It is this, right?
Is it just that? Is it just
Colorado
that?
sunset, yeah.
Colorado Sunset.
Boom.
The
So
303.
stupid. Everyone's doing the 303 thing right now. So dumb.
That was so big, and like their lyrics, I'm
Well,
probably
your boyfriend, if he says he's got beef, tell him I'm a vegetarian and I'm
I'm
fucking scared of him.
Is that the same song that has "Shush Girl, Shut Your Lips, Do the Helen Keller,
Yes.
and Talk with Your
It
Hips"?
does.
Wow.
It's bad.
Oh yeah,
That's
it's
that one.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
It's that one. They're
That
from
was like
Boulder.
a famous song.
They
Yeah.
are from
They're from
Boulder.
famous
Oh, they're
song.
from Boulder?
This is
Great.
what happens when you
Very
don't
cool.
vaccinate your kids.
They said they're from Denver, but they were like CU students, I think. when they
Man, fuck
started,
this. See you, Denver.
so. Might be CU Denver. I
Yeah.
might be wrong. So
Okay, so yeah, so here's December. Well, I don't have a name for this segment yet. We'll come up with one, but I'm planning to do this. I'm planning to do this because this is a history podcast. Just give you like a sense. A lot of fucking shit happened in December. It's wild. So, December 2nd, 1859. John Brown executed by the state of Virginia.
Bless.
Pour one
John
out
Brown.
for the realest dude
He's
that
the
was
best.
But if you're Pete Buttchug or whatever the fuck his last name is,
ever. Judge.
But a geek.
Buttigieg, he does not like John Brown.
That's true. It was a
Well,
little too
fuck him.
violent.
He's a little too violent.
Oh yeah, that's
Man. Okay. And then 1898, December 2nd, we're still on December 2nd, 1898, Mikhail Koshkin was born, who we did, God, that was probably about like a year ago. We talked about, he invented the T-34 tank,
Yes.
which was the like,
lit.
back.
Was
It
that
was
our
on a
first
dad episode.
We can do a
Yeah,
whole
he
episode.
was, he was
Oh,
the
it
guy
was
who
our
It was
first
the
one.
first, yeah.
It was the first
And
one.
it
It
was
was
the
the
story.
yeah,
drove
Jared
it.
fucking
He
tank.
drove
like-
it.
Yes.
And he
That
drove
was
just
insane.
As like a
Killed him.
demonstration.
It
It
literally
literally
because
killed him.
he didn't put a fucking heater, and no one asked him to drive it himself. Like,
just did it.
He was just like, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I
And he
could
drove
do
it
it
through
myself.
like rivers
Yeah.
in the winter, in the fucking
Yeah.
winter.
And so he died. But
And-
then the Soviet Union got the T-34 and fucked
He
up a bunch of
died,
Nazis.
and as a
Nazis.
result, all of us lived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True
So-
hero.
Real
Koshkin.
life.
He was
Pour
a
another
cool
one
dude.
out.
Yeah.
Still December 2nd. A lot happened this day.
Yeah.
1961, Fidel Castro goes on Cuban television, gives a speech
yeah.
talking about the whole like structure of the Cuban like revolution and the Communist Party there. And in it, this is his famous speech. He says, "I am a Marxist-Leninist, and I shall be a Marxist-Leninist to the end of my life."
And he was.
And he was. And you
And
can.
he died in his own
moral
fucking
vest.
moral
He
vest.
He
I
died
love
in like his
Castro.
fucking 90s or like late 80s. I don't remember.
I told that
Ladies,
moral
yeah.
that story to my
God,
like,
it's so fucking
one of my
good.
coworkers, and she was like, "It's pretty hot."
It was. Fidel
it
was
was
a
hot.
snack. Like,
That was the whole damn
the whole meal. The whole
God
meal.
damn it.
You're right. No, you can look up the text of that. It's a really good like speech. He gets.
It was like 8 hours.
It was a long ass speech. It's 88
Yeah.
pages, like typed out. So
Classic
I'm sure it was like 3 hours of him just like.
You gave me a book of all of his speeches
Oh,
for
man.
Christmas
That's
last year.
communist in general because like
I think so.
I've been reading Black
Harry Haywood.
Bolshevik, and he goes to a lot of like
Speeches.
he goes to
yeah.
a lot of like Supreme Soviet meetings and all these kinds of things. And
Talk.
often he'd be like, and this went on till 3:00 in the morning. Like they're there all fucking night, just like giving speeches. The next person goes up, another speech, another speech, another
He's
speech.
a long-winded boy for sure.
Yeah. I mean, like just communism in
Fidel
general.
looks so cool in like traditional Russian garb too, because they
Oh.
like dressed him up with the big fur hat, and the
Oh,
fur
yeah.
coat. He looks like
He
a
just-
baller.
Man,
He always
I just
looks like a
Did you see
baller.
I
the
miss
thing?
him.
It was
The
like
real one.
I miss him.
Colin Ty going to meet with oh fuck, where did he? She was like basically acted as like an ambassador. Oh, I think it was like Finland or
When?
back in like the 19
Like the 20s?
late. No, it was way later than that.
oh,
She
like-
was much older. It was like
okay.
late 1940s, I think, or
Fuck Finland in the 40s.
But she's like walking in with this like super like decked out fur coat.
Nice.
Just-
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Kaltai
It was
dope.
under it was were the ones who posted it,
Nice.
which is funny considering their
I had
earlier
to bleep
posts.
that out. Okay. And then also December 2nd, 1975, the Pathet Lao, they established the Lao People's Democratic Republic. They overthrew the monarchy of Lao and established, which still exists. No one knows about them. They're still like technically fucking
Marxist-Leninists?
like an ML state.
Fuck yeah.
So we're gonna do an episode on them at some point
Yeah,
because
for sure.
no one knows anything about them, and I think it would be great. All right,
for
so
them.
then moving on to December 4th in 1969, Fred Hampton, Black Panther,
Oh, shit,
Revolutionary
yeah.
Socialist,
That was-
Yeah.
assassinated by the FBI and the
that.
Chicago
Chicago
Police
PD.
Department.
There are
It's
a lot of
it's a
clips about
tragic
that.
story. Like they fucking busted into his apartment at like
shot him in his
4:45 in the
bed.
morning. They shot him like he was sleeping next to his 9-month
pregnant wife.
pregnant
Yeah.
girlfriend. They shot him
girlfriend,
like
yeah.
twice in the head.
Yeah.
And it was the
think they
FBI
shot
and the
him more
Chicago
than that,
Pol-
though. I think they
maybe
just
more than
drilled
at
him with
least
bullets.
twice.
Well,
Like,
it was
yeah.
there was one bullet fired by the Black Panthers and over 90 fired by the FBI and Chicago PD.
yeah, no,
whole
fucking.
house was
He
kinda
was
like that,
21.
Yeah.
21.
Fred Hampton was
They're-
21 years old.
That's
Yeah.
fucking
wild.
scared
Imagine if he had
because-
actually grown up.
God,
Like,
He
you know,
had
like, how he
eased
would have been.
tensions between gangs in his neighborhood and had turned them
Yes.
against the
He was-
bourgeoisie.
Yeah, one of
was
the
wild,
most
man.
interesting
Like, he was
documentaries
so
I've ever
shit out of
seen. Talked about the history that I cannot for the life of me remember what it was called, but it was about the history of the Black Panther Party.
Was it the Black Power mixtape?
It might have been
Because
but,
that's a good documentary. It's
it's
from like some Swedish dudes in the 70s.
No. This was much later because it talks about it goes into the history of the Black Panther Party and how the FBI and various police departments undermined them through COINTELPRO and all that stuff. And then how after the breakup of the Black Panther Party, all of these individuals who were like lost now because they'd lost their leadership, like broke out into all of the various gangs. The first one being the Crips,
Yeah.
which was supposed to be like, I forget what the fucking acronym is now, but it was basically like it had something to do with it was an extension of the Black Panther Party.
Yeah, they were an ML
It-
party.
They were trying to be initially like an extension of the Black Panther Party, but they ended up turning into Gonzaloites. I'm just kidding. But basically, that's what happened though. They turned to gangsterism instead of that sort of like Black
This
Panther.
says that some of us have suggested that Crips stood for Common Revolution in Progress.
Yes,
They
because
did.
and you can hear it because there was a phone call that was recorded on a fucking somebody's. I almost said voicemail, but it was an answering machine.
Is this? Did you watch Bastards of the Party?
It might have been.
Okay, because it's a documentary film directed by a former Bloods gang member, Clay Sloan. Explores
That
the
sounds
creation
about
of the
right.
two Los Angeles notorious gangs, the Crips
Yep.
and the Bloods.
Yeah,
Bastards of the
because
Party.
it
Okay.
begins with talking about like gangs in the black gangs in the 1920s emerging not in effort to like let's just be criminals, but because black kids and young people were being attacked by white anti-black gangs during that time frame, and so they were like, we're going to defend ourselves, and in order to defend ourselves, we're going to start our own gangs.
Yeah.
And then how that progressed, through the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, and then in the 60s, how they all sort of got funneled into more like practical, radical organizations, and then ultimately culminating in the Black Panther Party, which was then ultimately undermined, which then reverted back to these sort of like factional
we
gangs.
talk a lot about like how the U.S. cannot have a communist revolution, and I still think that's probably true.
For
at least
now, for
for
sure,
now.
yeah.
Well, the U.S. as like
As an
Yes,
entity.
as an entity,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
But again, reading this book, so as we know, as communists, revolutions happen in colonized areas, right? That's where all of the communist revolutions have happened, has been as a direct result of colonialization or imperialism. It doesn't
Right.
happen in like imperialist nations like
Germany.
hubs.
Yeah.
The U.S. was the black population in the U.S. is a colonized force.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there was a moment in which we were really close to revolution because the colonized people were rising up, and we were, I think, very close to them having that revolution that would have turned the U.S. into a, not the U.S. as a state, but
It would have
the U.S.
fractured
territory,
Yeah.
into a communist
Well, and
entity.
the
New Deal.
declassified information that came out about like the Fred Hampton assassination, it was stolen by like five or six people, two of which were professors that had gone to. So Fred Hampton had hosted through the Black Panthers the Unity. It was like this. It was like a 5,000 people showed up to this Unity thing. The majority of which were white, and this was like he had been working with gangs and getting them to come together in Chicago. But he invited people across the U.S. to Chicago for this meeting. And two of the members were like these white dudes in their 40s. They were professors and revolutionaries and radicals. And then like when Fred Hampton was murdered, a year later, they had gone and like broken into an FBI office and stolen all the information. And it got declassified and essentially just destroyed like Council Pro. Like it was
nice.
The only reason that we knew about it as a population was because somebody went to the effort to remember Fred Hampton and say, this is fucking bullshit. This is awful. Like more so than anybody. Like, and like this, I think this was the same documentation that showcased that the FBI wanted MLK to kill himself. That like all these things that came out about black revolutionaries and black leaders in the 1960s, like it was all built around the FBI.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck, no, I read a book about the like forming of the FBI. What the fuck was that called? It was called Enemies: A History of the FBI. It's by Tim Weiner. And literally, the FBI, its entire history was just created to fuck up the lives of communists and people of color.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like
So basically like cops.
well, they're just like
doing now,
peak cop.
shit.
Yeah, no, but like literally,
They're
that's the
ultra
FBI's
cops.
entire
Yeah.
Sure.
reason for
Secret
existing.
ultra cops.
Well, cops were existed
like,
to catch slaves. I mean,
Well,
they
right,
escaped
yeah.
the
Right.
slaves.
No, but
And
J.
to squash
Edgar
unions,
Hoover,
like-
one of the like super villains of the 20th century.
Right.
That guy was
Yeah.
a monster.
But we talked-
J. Edgar
yeah.
Hoover. Oh God, yeah.
But I guess my point being that we talk a lot about that topic, but there is only one way to, if we really truly believe that revolution is possible in the United States, the only way that it's possible is a decolonial movement.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with like white people standing up and like striking in their
Bernie?
McDonald's jobs or whatever to like bring the economy to heel.
Yeah,
Like
no,
that's
for sure.
never going to happen. The
you
only
mean-
way that we can ever have a revolution in this country is
Led by the colonized
yes,
peoples
exactly, led by
of-
the colonized people. Because
Yeah.
that's the only way that revolution happens.
It's not through cooperatives, like workers' co-ops.
May
I don't
surprise
know.
you, but a lot of Silicon Valley is co-op, and somehow they're not revolutionary. Big co-op.
There was
Do you
there was a
remember when
recent
employee-owned New Belgium brewery?
New Belgium, yeah.
Just got, anyway, no. So I gotta keep. We're only on December 4th.
That's,
so I gotta keep
that's a
going,
real
but-
big one,
Yes.
though. Is
No, but
like
no,
Fred,
I
Fred
mean,
Hampton
Fred
was
Hampton, yeah.
like
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
going to change the landscape of the U.S.
Yeah,
and
no, it was wild.
like,
No, I mean, and just his quote is haunting to me. He just says, like, he just said, "Why don't you live for the people? Why don't you struggle for
God,
the people? Why
imagine
don't
Fred
you die for the
Hampton
people?"
as like a
Like-
leader of a people's movement that came to fruition. Like
He probably
holy
could have done it, man. Like,
Like-
he was like at 21 years old, he
damn.
was already so.
And, like,
I can feel like
the
tears.
thing
thinking
that
about
kills me the
It's
most is that like the U.S. government and like just like the way that things operate in under Western hegemony is infuriating because they're both bumbling fucking morons. Like the U.S. government
Yeah.
and FBI and
lot
CIA,
of just
they're
idiots,
really
yeah.
dumb fucking people.
Absolutely.
But because of the way that information operates, they get away with it every fucking time.
Yep.
All
The
the
people
time.
the
They're
people
still
can
getting
find
away
out
with
about it and find out about how poorly it was executed and how malicious the intent was, and people still don't give a shit.
just
And it's infuriating because it's like they're in front of you.
Yeah.
You can see that this is something bad and like something better was going to happen, but you just refuse. Like it's how a group of morons can get away with so much.
It's it's so
And
galling.
then
It's
you have-
galling.
I have to go a little bit further and just like call out all the fucking liberals, because it exists in this point too, where all of a sudden they're like, people love to talk about how dumb Bush was or how dumb Trump is, and like, oh, like politicians should be smart like our Democrat politicians. They're all also fucking idiots. There is not a smart politician, and like again, intelligence is this very nebulous term and things like that. But like,
and the thing is, like, I think Obama was intelligent, but like, who gives a fuck? Like, it doesn't matter how intelligent you are because he was terrible.
But that's the thing, is that like it's this bumbling mass of just bullshit that happens that like shouldn't be able to, like, in all reality it shouldn't be able to, but it does, and that's heartbreaking.
Yep, it is. December 5th.
You should have started the weekend tonight.
December 5th, 1936. The Soviet Constitution, the new Soviet Constitution, which is a banger, gets released. It's a very democratic document. You should read it. It's very good. December 6th, 1961. Author, like theorist, philosopher, psychoanalyst Frantz Fanon dies of leukemia, 36 years old. He wrote The Wretched of the Earth, Black Skin, White Masks. Listen to Marx Madness. They're going through Wretched of the Earth like chapter by chapter. It's a banger.
Yeah.
That's such a good book.
Yeah.
Fuck, it's such
like
a good
an
book.
audiobook with commentary. Marx Madness is awesome.
But Wretched of the Earth is great, and Marx Madness is...
And speaking of colonialism and like anti-colonialism and
Frantz Fanon was like the GOAT.
There's nobody better that you can read.
It's definitely better than fucking Settlers. I know I'm going to anger a lot of people by saying that.
So Frantz Fanon, like Wretched of the Earth is
much better than Settlers.
Yeah.
Way better than Settlers. Settlers has a lot of like weird, like very like a lot of elimination of class, like context of shit.
No, Frantz Fanon was like god tier. Like he was great. All right. December 7th, 1949, the government of the Republic of China was expelled from the mainland by the forces of what was about to become the People's Republic of China.
I mean, the fucking fascist Kuomintang was sent out.
And they moved to quote unquote Taiwan.
Here's the thing about Taiwan. Let's hang on. Let's talk. Never heard of it. Let's talk about the KMT briefly.
Do it. I got
Let's go.
Keep going.
Crawl under the table, Ethan. Yes. So the Kuomintang was a broad-based political party. It was a nationalist movement, and it had everyone from sort of, I would say, even at their far right, they were more radical centrists than anything else. Yeah. Because there was a left wing of the Kuomintang, which was more like, socialist, basically. The left wing of the
but by the late 1920s, the left wing of the Kuomintang was forced out, and that's where you see the formation of the CCP.
Yeah. And some of them were trots, so there's that too. But it was a large party which gathered a large number of people from disparate sort of. The thing is that when the KMT fled, the leadership fled to what is now Taiwan. They still considered themselves to be socialist. So it's complicated. They were not nationalists in the vein of Nazi Germany or
it's very different.
Or Imperial Japan or whatever. It was the KMT were again, like they were a large party with a lot of different people in it of varying types. But as we've learned from the Hong Kong protesters, which is also a broad-based set of protests, ranging from
everybody from
extremely far right to
Trump supporters.
There are legit
President Trump, please liberate Hong Kong.
There are legit left protesters among the Hong Kong protesters, but the reality is that
they're the minority.
They are a minority, and the other reality is it doesn't fucking matter. It's sort of like the Kronstadt uprising. Those were leftists.
There were left-wing protests to the USSR.
Yes,
that brought
it doesn't fucking matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter how good you are ideologically. What matters is materially.
Right.
How are you impacting the situation? Right. So, fuck the KMT and fuck the Hong Kong protesters and fuck the Kronstadt uprising.
The only thing Trotsky was good for was crushing the Kronstadt Rebellion.
Hey, you know what? Critical support for Trotsky for Kronstadt had it coming.
Yeah, Kronstadt did have it coming.
So
he also was the first one to propose that they crush the Mokhnavites, which was the right call.
Awesome.
So,
Machno definitely had it coming.
so it was a
Yeah.
piece of shit.
We'll do an episode on him
So
later.
great,
All right.
like short segment in Black Bolshevik. He talks about just briefly. He passes over Kronstadt Rebellion,
Oh boy.
and he says the Kronstadt Rebellion. He says in parenthesis, who supported both the whites and the reds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they had weapons that they'd gotten from the White Army.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I thought it was just funny because he's like, they're like radical centrists, basically.
Yeah, basically. All right. So December 9th, 1979. This isn't explicitly communist, but it's cool. Smallpox was eliminated.
Nice.
Except for a few vials in the U.S. and
Boulder?
What? In Boulder?
Sorry.
Yikes.
I think they
Sick
are.
time of that
I think
joke.
they're. I think I'm legitimately. I think there is one in Boulder. There's some in the
cool.
CD, there's some in the
Very cool.
That's not
CDC
surprising. There's like-
in Washington D.C.
And then there are a couple.
and then there's one in.
They gave a couple to the.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
Well, they gave a
Atlanta,
couple.
Atlanta,
That's where
Atlanta,
CDC is based. They gave a couple to the Soviet Union, which is now Russia, which is now a terrifying capitalist hellscape. So,
Sad.
but then
Unless you're Hyder.
terrifying capitalist hellscape. U.S. also has some. So people aren't getting smallpox unless. Well, so like I was reading, there was the one in Russia. They have this. It's like a storage facility. It's a medical thing. There was a fire in the building, and like it got really close to the room with the smallpox vials, but it was fine. But it's just like, why are we keeping this again?
Yeah.
Just get rid of it, guys. Anyway, that was pretty cool.
In case they have to probably like biological warfare against communist countries.
Sure,
Or something.
well, yeah.
Like, that's probably why they're saving.
Well, I mean, did you hear
Just a
about
guess, but-
China? I read a thing. China's working on a bioagent that only affects white people. I saw this. I honestly read this.
I support it. If it's real, support it.
Xi Jinping wipe me
President
out.
Xi
White
eliminate
society.
me.
So
If
also,
only whiteness were a biological reality.
Wait, let me feel your skull.
all right. Also, December 9th in 1987, the first Intifada began, which was an uprising from Palestinians against Israel, which was doing some
Lit.
settler colonialism bullshit that they're
They've
still
been doing some bullshit.
they're still on.
Always
There was a
doing
second
bullshit.
Intifada. Hopefully, there will be a third one. At some point.
It's not looking great. Israel's doing some bullshit.
No,
like,
I know,
extra
but
bullshit right
they're-
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see.
The U.S. has now said that like settlements are legal,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
and and Israel's continuing to annex more territory.
Solidarity
Love it.
to our Palestinian comrades.
Yeah. Good luck.
December 11th, 2012, Therese Spence, who is the chief of the Attawapiskat First Nations in Canada, she goes on hunger strike to protest Canada violating some treaties against First Nation people and helps kick off the Idle No More protest movement. So
That
good for her.
Canada was progressive.
Canada is the United States. I mean, there's virtually no difference.
Yeah.
The difference between Canada and the United States is Canada didn't have the Rand
medical care.
It didn't. Well, it didn't have the Rand Corporation because around the time that Britain established the NHS, then the United States was like, "Hey, maybe we should do this because it might make our workers more productive." And so they hired the Rand Corporation, who were also the ones who established who helped to design our nuclear deterrence policy. But they were like, they did a thing where they tested people, and they were like, they had to pay out of pocket for their health care. They had to pay a portion
Love it.
of their health care, or
Feels.
they had 100% of their health care covered, and they found that people who had their 100% of their health care covered tended to engage in more quote unquote risky behavior in terms of alcohol and smoking. And therefore they were like, well, it's not really worth it because if we do provide them with healthcare, then they'll engage with more risky behavior.
Jokes on the Rand Corp. I do that anyway. Fucking idiots.
Yeah. So that's the difference between Canada and the United States. Literally the only
Well-
one. Canada is a piece of shit.
Yeah.
That's
I agree.
Canada.
I
It's
think
maybe
Canada
worse
takes the
there.
piece of shit part with First Nations
Yeah.
a step further
Oh, yeah.
because of the schools.
Oh, we had schools.
Well,
theirs went on longer.
Theirs went on way longer
Yeah.
to the point where like it's in very recent memory. And
It's
like,
comparing to
Holy shit,
like.
how can it be worse than the U.S.?
I
with
mean, it's
indigenous-
almost impossible to think about.
It's not
Canada is a garbage
Canada's-
country.
Yeah, that's Canada. December 12th, 2012, the DPRK launches their first satellite into orbit.
Hell yes.
That's exciting.
raise the roof.
December 14th, 2008, Muntadar al-Zaidi throws his shoes at George W.
Yes.
Bush. And he says, this is a farewell kiss from the Iraqi people, you dog.
Didn't they make a
shoes.
statue commemorating like the
Yeah,
shoe
yeah.
statue or
Yes.
something?
This
Is
is
that real?
absolute unit. Like,
Which
yeah.
culturally, the like, if you show someone the bottom of your feet or the
That's a
bottom of your
big
shoes, it's a
insult.
huge insult,
Yeah.
which is why the whole shoe thing happened.
It's I was watching the video of that, like Bush,
It's so
like
funny.
surprisingly,
Yeah.
like
Have you? There was a
This is
flash.
wild.
There was a flash game that came out shortly after that where you could throw shoes at George Bush. It was so funny.
yeah.
Big fan.
yeah, no,
It's
this was amazing.
It had
This
to be
is
like
Yeah.
a jib jab or something.
like
oh
that,
my
it's
yeah.
on
god.
Newgrounds.
Fuck.
Might have been, yeah.
Fuck. No, this was
Showing rage.
Muntadar al-Zaidi. Hell yeah, good work
He
doing that.
recently was elected into a
was he?
position
Like,
in.
was he
yeah,
in Iraq?
In Iraq,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's like in their Senate or their Congress.
Yeah, he's
or
a
something, yeah.
Socialist Party member, isn't he?
Yeah.
Hey,
I
very
think so.
cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I wish.
Full
I wonder
support.
what Hyder's thoughts on him are, just because I'm sure
He
he
probably
has
calls
some.
him a liberal, neoliberal piece of shit. I forget who I brought up to Hyder. Oh God, who was that? When he's a neoliberal piece of shit, and I was like, Jesus, Hyder, what are your fucking standards, man? Like so high.
Unless
He
you're
needs
Stalin,
Obama
like-
levels of Marxism Leninism.
Hell yeah. Okay. December 15th in 1890, the Hunkpapa Lakota leader Sitting Bull is murdered by Indian Agency police on the Standing Rock Reservation in North Dakota. And so if you don't know who Sitting Bull was,
Another one out.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He was one of the leaders. I mean, he was had a long career as just like a leader of this tribe, but also he was one of the leaders of the Battle of the Little Bighorn / Battle of the Greasy Grass, where the U.S. troops, including genocidal maniac General George Custer, got wrecked.
Good.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it was good. But yeah, some fucking Indian Agency police went in and fucking killed Sitting Bull. You should listen to our friends Bands of Turtle Island. They talk about Sitting Bull and all this. It's good stuff from some indigenous comrades. It's good stuff. Yeah, but yeah, December 15th, 1890, he got murdered. But December 15th, the good thing that happened in 1970 was Venera 7, the Soviet probe, landed on Venus, which was the first soft landing on another planet.
Hell yeah.
And
It's
the
very cool.
only time
we
ever
And the
Yeah.
only
ever
time anything's landed on Venus.
We talked about this earlier on this episode, but I thought that like only capitalism does cool stuff like
science and innovation
like innovation and
I mean, I bet I didn't know that we had landed anything on Venus until like 2 years ago. And like I grew up really into space shit. So
Same, yeah.
Yeah.
I love space and had no idea that the
the Soviets landed.
Oh, yeah.
They sent us. The only pictures we have from the surface of Venus are from Soviet landers in the 70s.
The
So
Soviets have done so much for space.
The
I know.
1970s.
Like,
1970.
Nobody else
was
has done
Venera
it.
7. Yep.
it's so cool.
1978. In also on
Undefeated and still champion.
yeah, still
Soviet Union.
still December 15th. In 1978, the United States finally recognizes the People's Republic of China as China, and they cut off their ties with Taiwan. So
What year was it?
1978.
78.
So very critical support for
wow,
the U.S. in this specific action.
takes a little while.
Yeah.
No critical support for the United States.
I'm just saying this was a
Never.
good thing that they did.
It had-
That was right
it had
around the
nothing
time
good.
that Mao was meeting with fucking
no, I mean like
Kissinger.
Kissinger, so fuck that
Mao's
shit.
foreign policy at this point was trash.
So
Is that everything to do with Afghanistan?
No, I
because
know,
China
I know,
was
I know.
going to
No,
support the U.S.
But I'm
Any
just
fucking
saying-
Maoist who's like, oh dang, fucking Jiang Zemin, fucking Xi, they're all revisionists. By the end of Mao's
shit.
career, he was
Mao
a
was-
fucking revisionist.
That was
so fuck
that
off.
was asking the
He was the
U.S.
worst.
to intervene
Mao
where the
changed
Soviet
the
Union was.
Yes.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, it's bad.
Let's
Yeah.
keep
whack.
going. So December 17th, 1830, Simón Bolívar dies of tuberculosis at the age of 47.
That's a weird one. Did a lot. also kind of a.
He was a strange,
wasn't great.
He was a complicated guy.
We did an episode on
Yeah,
that.
he's a
So-
complicated guy, but he did help free a bunch of now Latin American countries from Spanish Spanish
Yeah,
rule.
yeah.
So that's good.
Critical support.
Bolivarianism rips.
And Bolivarianism rips is what Taylor just said. So and he left. So yes, Bolivar, complicated figure, probably overall good though. Like on balance, I would say it's probably good.
I mean, that's sort of like people are, I mean, we've shit on Lincoln a whole lot in terms of like how terrible he has been.
Yeah.
On balance, probably a good thing. On balance.
Yeah. I mean, and it's
not
tough.
a good thing.
It's tough.
But it's on balance.
Yeah. All right. And then also on December 17th, 1955, the American Civil Rights Congress, which you can learn a little bit more about listening to our Paul Robeson episode because he helped start it. They issue, they declare to the at a meeting of the United Nations, their program, We Charge Genocide, accusing the United States government and the United States as a thing of committing genocide against black.
Which it did.
Accurate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Guess how far that went?
It didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, this is sort of my argument against the idea of resistance for the sake of resistance. There's no standing up and saying what you believe in and expressing it and then sort of being like, wow, look at this brave person. Did they do anything though? Has anything been accomplished from that? I mean, it's good. I mean, morally it's defensible. It's the right thing to do, but it's sort of it's an idealist perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
December 20th, 1917, the Cheka is formed, which was the precursor
yeah.
to the KGB.
KGB?
It's the secret.
Authoritarian.
Yeah, well, you got to get rid of those white.
Got to kill white people.
Get rid of the whites.
Yeah.
All of them.
Pierce the whites with
Emmy.
the red wedge.
Emmy, come on, Pearl Spot.
Emmy, come on, Pearl Spot. Yeah, we will.
I
I will.
love that
I will
piece.
put up this
Ethan's
red wedge
wearing that.
hoodie that I made
Yes,
for
do
myself.
it.
I will put it up on the
I'm
website.
buying one.
I
Yes,
will buy that.
It's a good. It's a good hoodie. It's a good hoodie.
I'm never gonna not wear it.
It's a good one. Okay. December 20th in 1995. So Wikipedia phrased this as NATO begins peacekeeping operations in Bosnia. You could also phrase that as
totally
NATO
what-
invades Bosnia.
Yeah, that's totally what NATO does. Peacekeep.
They peacekeep with all of their depleted uranium rounds.
Love it.
So
Yeah.
God, stop that. All right. December 22nd, 1944, the Vietnamese People's Army is formed to repel Japanese invaders.
Fucking so good.
Hell yeah.
I mean, this was, at the time it was Indochina, but and they were still under control of France, but they had to get rid of those fucking Japanese before they could get rid of the fucking French. So,
And then eventually the fucking Americans.
hell yeah.
Asian for the Asians.
That's what Japan was saying.
Yeah, I know.
Ooh, it was
I'm
bad.
aware.
Japanese imperialism was not
was so
great.
bad.
It was
Yeah.
not great. December 25th was Christmas. No. In 1831, it was the Great Jamaican Slave Revolt. It began with
Bless.
60,000 slaves, which was like a third of the slaves that were in Jamaica. It was brutally put down by the British, but
It's amazing to me that a third of all slaves could rise up and it still was put down. That's
it
incredible.
was so brutal. The thing,
Yeah.
they were so brutal that even all the people back in Britain were like, "Oh God, this was really bad."
Maybe we shouldn't
And
have
as
done
a
that.
result of that, it led to them abolishing chattel slavery. So their deaths were not in vain. Yeah, it was brutal.
You know what cost the movement is white people not standing up with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on Jamaica though, it would have been the white people who were there would have been
That's
primarily
true. That's
slave
true.
owners,
Slave owners, yeah.
or
Yeah.
But the reason that the civil rights movement, before that the Communist Party, after
Yeah,
that
no,
the
it's
Black
always
Panther
been-
Party,
it's always been white people
always
flinching.
been white people not standing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, December 25th, 1991, Mikhail Gorbachev resigns as president of the USSR.
This is the only time I'm going to say pour one out for Gorbachev because what happens
fucked up.
is Yeltsin
Yeah.
then takes
Yeah.
over.
yeah, it was
And
not great.
Gorbachev is like ML Obama.
legitimately ML Obama. Yeah.
December 26th, 1893, the birth of a little guy named Mao Zedong, who
Our boy.
was ultimately good.
Yeah.
He did a lot of good things. He
Yes.
he made some mistakes
Yes.
near the end of his life.
Yes.
But whom amongst us has not
Yes.
made mistakes at the end of our
No,
lives?
like earlier when I was like, whatever Maoists who criticize Xi or Jiang Zemin or Deng Xiaoping, like I wasn't saying that because I think that Mao was fucked up at the end of his life for doing these things. It's a matter of like, what practical circumstances are you faced with, and how are you going to deal with them?
Exactly.
Exactly.
So
No, I mean Mao. When you think about it,
I
in
love
terms of Mao's great. Mao's great.
And Mao's like
in terms
you
of
gotta
like
be
number
fucking
of
materialist in your analysis.
No, but
You
in
can't just
terms
be
of like
like-
number of people whose lives were like directly uplifted,
It's a
like
whole lot.
Mao fucking was up
My
there.
point was that, like, if you are going to criticize these people, then you can't be a fucking Maoist because
Right.
Mao did those things
Yeah, he
toward the
also
end of
did
his
the
life.
fucked up shit.
Correct.
Yeah,
Extremely fucked up in terms of like.
friend of Pol
like,
Pot.
and there
Mao
was
Zedong.
no,
Oops.
yes, Pol Pot, fucking hell.
Yikes.
But
Big
also
yikes.
Kissinger.
Yeah,
Jesus
well-
Christ, Kissinger. How could you be worse?
Kissinger's worse than
like,
Pol Pot.
is she like shaking hands with Bolsonaro? Is what the fuck? But
It's not great.
It's
but
no,
like,
it's terrible. But
different
also shaking hands with Kissinger also fucked up.
Also,
do you
terrible.
feel the shadow energy like
Yes.
in him when you touch him? Yeah.
Exactly.
So December 26th, 1968, the Communist Party of the Philippines is started by Jose
Nice.
Cizon. How do you say his name?
That's probably about right.
Because
Who knows?
we had a whole episode on this and I can't remember his. I'm sorry, I apologize. Then December 26th, 1991, the Supreme Soviet of the USSR votes itself and the USSR out of existence.
Stupid.
Fuck off.
Bullshit.
Sad. Very sad.
Like
December
more
was
than
a bad... What?
I was going to say more than 70% of the population voted
yeah.
against
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
the
Yep.
dissolution. This
Most
was
of
a
them
coup.
wanted it.
This was a coup.
It
Yeah.
was, it's not great.
Oh.
So September 27th, 1979, Soviet forces move into Afghanistan and take Kabul at the request of the Afghan government, let me say.
Yeah, it wasn't a
And
Soviet
then
invasion. As
on
it's
that day,
framed.
somehow Hafizullah Amin died. We don't know exactly how he died.
I do, but
How did he die?
no, I'm not on this podcast.
Well, no, who killed him?
The Soviet Union killed him.
It's not great. So we found. There are documents that they thought he was a U.S. agent.
It was.
He was not.
It was a clusterfuck.
There was a lot.
Yeah.
There was some problems.
That's why I don't want to talk about it when we do our episode.
There were some problems. Anyway, I mean, who we
To be
love.
continued.
Yes, exactly. He died on December 27th, 1979.
He was the best
Or
thing
went
that
out
ever
for
happened.
Amin
Yeah,
to
he was the best thing
Afghanistan.
that ever happened to Afghanistan.
Yeah.
But he was betrayed by the Soviet Union accidentally. So.
Well, I mean, Brezhnev gonna Brezhnev. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, he was the ultimate in daytime. So.
Yeah. December 29th.
Brezhnev was like, okay, so we were recently at UCCS, so we were hanging out in the library and we like found the whole section on the USSR and Soviet Russia and whatever, and there were books about and by various Soviet leaders, some of which were endorsed by the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, which was pretty impressive.
It's weird that
you steal
like
them?
working class folks don't have access to decent education on working class movements, but people that have already
In
been
the
inculcated
academy.
with the academy have access to this kind of material.
Yeah.
Because I was shocked looking through these books. I was shocked at. I mean, most of them are garbage.
Yes.
But I was shocked at the number of objective sources that
Yeah.
were there that were like books that I had never even heard of.
There were
and,
like
and I
six
spent my
primary
life
sources.
speeches and writings by Stalin.
by Joseph Stalin.
volumes.
Oh, did you found those? Okay, because
Yeah,
I didn't see those when I
some
was
of them
there.
were missing. I think the fifth volume was
Yeah.
missing.
There was
where
5
the
out of
good
6
shit was.
volumes
5 out of
by
6
Joseph
volumes
Stalin.
or something.
Shit, the fifth volume is the
But
best
like
volume.
they were published by the Communist
was it
Party of
yeah.
the Soviet Union.
Progress
cool.
Publishing.
So they're
Yeah.
not like U.S. propaganda.
But there was
bullshit.
one by Brezhnev. It was like
Yep,
it was a
book
group
by
of
Brezhnev.
speeches by
Talking about
Brezhnev.
socialism and the future of socialism. or
Yes,
whatever.
and he described he described what was going on in the Soviet Union as democratic socialism, and I had to laugh a little
Who
bit.
did?
Because Brezhnev.
Brezhnev.
Nice.
Because that was funny. But
Nice.
anyway, sorry. Yeah. Anyway,
That feeling in the
There's some cool
eyebrows.
stuff at universities. Savannah and I went to Seattle this summer.
But it's
and we
crap.
wanted-
that should be in a public library. Like,
Yeah, I know.
It
It
should
should
be
be.
all
in a
Absolutely.
public library.
well, public should be able to access
Yeah,
it. It's
public
bullshit.
can.
Yeah.
I don't,
Well, you
I don't think
technically can. So here in the Springs, you can rent books You can check books out from the UCCS library if you have a.
But most people don't know that.
Well, they absolutely don't tell you that. You have to find that out.
You have to jump through hoops to do it.
So
yep.
We should steal all of them and just. I'm not even kidding.
Booster bags are
I
easy
wonder
to
if they
make,
have a copy of the Black Bolshevik.
What's the cost
Maybe.
of like jacking books from the library?
You have to
$120
demagnetize them first.
Yeah.
Because we need to pick carefully.
I mean, you can get a demagnetizer off Amazon.
But
You
also,
just have to be careful
You have to
about,
wrap it in enough
you have to find
aluminum
the-
foil. If you
That
can put
too.
your phone in an aluminum foil bag and you can't get calls to or from it,
Homemade Faraday
that's
cage.
enough.
Hell yeah.
Enough. Let's
look up booster bags.
Let's do it, fucking William. Let's do it.
Google
but
booster
really,
bags.
I think having it in the library is probably a good thing.
No, I think
For
it
people
probably
who in the
is,
future
yeah.
want to access it.
Yeah.
But
It's
Better than one of us assholes having this in my private library.
Just take
But
it,
if we
read it, and then
could
return it.
recreate these books, especially the ones which were
Yeah.
published by
Well, no, that's the thing. Is we got to
CPSU.
scan them. And so December 29th, 1890, there was the Wounded Knee Massacre, where hundreds of Lakota
damn.
were massacred by U.S. cavalry. This
Not
is
far from here, right?
No, it was in North
Oh,
Dakota.
okay.
One of the Dakotas. This is such a fucked up story, but what the U.S. cavalry did was monstrous. This was mostly civilians that were murdered. It was disgusting.
You mean our true American heroes, the U.S. military, did something very bad that nobody should ever have to experience? Oh my God,
I can't
that's so
believe it.
strange.
Shocking.
I can't believe that the
Yeah.
U.S. military would commit war atrocities and kill people that didn't deserve
No,
it.
I mean December
Oh my
had
God.
December had the Wounded Knee Massacre and Death of Sitting Bull. It seems like a tough month for Lakota, but it's a fucked up thing that happened. But we need to know that it happened. We need to know about it. And we need to remember it. So. Then
Standing Rock.
December 30th, 1922, a nation was formed, the USSR.
Bless.
Noise.
All right. And then the last one I got was December 31st, because that's the last day of the month. And the main thing I want to talk about, in 1999, Boris Yeltsin resigned as president of Russia. Because he helped tear down
fuck out.
the USSR, and he resigned. And in his resignation address, he was like, this is a quote, "I want to ask for your forgiveness for the fact that many of the dreams we shared did not come true, and for the fact that what seemed simple to us turned out to be tormentingly difficult."
Shut the fuck up.
Wow.
And then he died.
You killed
million people died
Right.
after the collapse of the
And then
Soviet
Boris
Union.
Yeltsin died of fucking alcoholism 8 years later.
good.
So
Somebody,
Fuck.
God damn it.
Hope it sucked.
I hope
Fuck that
I
guy.
hope it did not feel good. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Okay. Yeltsin's gone. When the fuck is Gorby going?
That's
Please.
crazy
How
that
has
he's
he
still
fucking-
alive.
I mean, let's talk about this. Fucking Gorbachev is still alive. Fucking
Kissinger.
Kissinger is still alive. These bastions of neoliberal hell
I
are
was so
still
pissed
fucking.
that Kissinger outlived Fidel.
Yeah,
that's
Fidel
shit.
went out on his own terms, so I'm not after surviving a bunch of assassination attempts and I'm not pissed that he died of old age on his own
Peacefully,
terms,
yeah.
but I just wish he'd survived.
Kissinger's probably
Kissinger.
got some weird millennial blood.
He's like
in
a
him and
lich, man.
some-
I don't know how he's still alive.
He's replacing organs and shit.
It's like a cyborg.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeltsin deserved much worse, and
Yeah.
so does Gorbachev.
Yeah, it's bad. But so anyway, that was the end of that month.
Hey guys, sorry, kind of fucked up.
Yeah, hey.
I made a little mistake.
Catch you
I'm
later.
sorry. Yeah, hey. Oh, let me read the rest of it, or not the rest of it, but the next part, because it was.
Hurt me, Ethan. Hurt me.
Well, no, I'm not gonna read the whole thing. It's just that
That's what Ethan said too.
he said, "No, I just." He said, "I ask forgiveness for not justifying some hopes of those people who believed that at one stroke, in one spurt, we could leap from the gray, stagnant, totalitarian past
stop.
into the light, rich, civilized future.
Shut up.
I myself believed in this, that we could overcome everything in one spurt.
Rotten hell. God damn.
Yeah. I turned out to be too naive in something. In some places, problems seem to be too complicated.
I
Problems that were
want to
solved
watch.
before you.
I really
should.
want to watch the Herzog documentary. To
We
be honest.
should
I
for
really
an
want to
episode.
watch
It'll
it.
suck, but we should.
do it. Hurt me.
Watch Gorbachev.
Because he's over there crying about how there's no system which. Motherfucker, you were in it.
Yeah.
You lived in the system which provided people's basic needs over the profit of billionaires, basically.
Yeah.
And you decided to sell it out.
I mean,
for freedom. Freedom.
as hard as it'll be, I'll watch anything Herzog.
Herzog, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Herzog's
And just like I just
Including
like
The Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian
he's in
is
it.
so
He's
good.
I know
not-
he is. I know he is.
I don't fucking care about
I wanted
Mandalorian
Herzog to
is so
direct
good.
one of the Star
I
Wars
just
sequels.
love how like they wanted to do CGI Baby Yoda and he's just like,
no,
leave it, you
Leave
cowards.
it, you cowards.
It was so good.
I love it.
The
No,
Mandalorian is really good.
I haven't seen it.
It's
but
really good.
I'm not touching anything Disney
This
Plus.
episode brought to you by The Mandalorian, streaming on Disney Plus, which you can. No, I'm just kidding. Imagine,
Thanks for the support, Disney.
imagine,
Disney Plus.
imagine
Disney.
paying for Disney Plus.
So I made that meme.
Imagine paying for
I made
the global
I made
communism.
the Baby Yoda meme.
I've seen that on Twitter get shared.
And
like it is left.
I have been inundated with libertarians and fascists constantly who are like, oh, without capitalism, you wouldn't have Baby Yoda because Baby Yoda was developed under capitalist system.
Get out of
And
here.
I'm like,
fuck.
I will
is
trade
the
Baby Yoda
goofiest-
for global communism.
yeah, I would as well.
Like,
Yeah.
100%. But also, that's not true. So, capitalism did not develop
man.
Baby Yoda.
Hold
It was
on.
a series
Let me
of
find
graphic
the-
designers and engineers and puppeteers and
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was December. That was every event that happened in December
Every
throughout
single
human
thing.
history. All of them.
period.
Wow.
No, I missed a bunch. I'll get the rest of them next
next year?
December.
Just stick around for like 12 months and
Well, I mean, here's the thing. We started Dad last November.
I know.
Yeah.
And I
we
did
have
not
now-
expect. I
it's
honestly
only
didn't
a
expect
year.
it to last this. There were so many years in 2019. Like
my
it's been
God.
so long.
dude,
Marxist Center just happened a year ago.
I know, man. That
that
messes
was
me
hard.
up every fucking
That's really
time.
hard.
I'm like, a year ago. It feels
Only-
like 10
only a
years
year.
ago.
I've aged so like
yeah.
just like
It was the most painful weekend of my life.
just like the guy in the Last Crusade when he drinks the wrong thing, just like aging and turning into the skeleton. That's me when I think about like the years since
well, like,
Marxist
I
Center.
was so again. I always get shit for this when I bring it up, but I listen to NPR in my car when I have nothing else to listen to.
Wow, liberal.
Yeah,
No.
whatever. But Sound Opinions, the Saturday night segment about just music and stuff. Awesome. Love those guys. They've introduced me to tons of music, but Sound Opinions was talking about like 2019 in the review, and they played Old Town Road, and I was like, there's no fucking way that came out this year.
Did it?
Old Town Road came out in
did.
2019.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
And then like a couple hours later, I like got a notification about fucking Marxist Center, and I was just like, oh my god, this is the longest year of my life.
That segment took a long time, but I think it was good. Like I'm looking for like I like doing this month in history. That's a fun one, so I'll do that again. But this was a long one. It's okay. People love it. So we'll be back next month with more hot takes, more quality content.
Some Christian
More Christian
dubstep.
dubstep.
made by the proles.
I will pay somebody to like mock up what we did. Like if you put that together, we will give you some money. I think that's gonna be it for this month. This is a long ass episode, but it's good. This was good content.
Bless. It
The
was good.
Christian
Yeah, it was-
dubstep
this is
was
a great one.
my
It was
favorite.
amazing.
Pretty wholesome.
Riff of the night goes to Jeremy for the Christian dubstep.
Straight banger.
We have a trophy that slides around the table for who has the best bit.
Who has the worst take, though?
Jeremy
no,
or
but
Justin?
who has the worst?
Justin.
You gotta be
No, I
the
don't.
clown next time.
Oh yeah, no. So we have a red microphone. It looks like a clown nose. So like, if you have the worst take, you have to use the clown microphone.
Clown nose the
So-
next
Next
month.
session.
Yeah, next session you gotta wear
it
the
looks
red.
like a clown nose. It's very funny. So right now, Justin had the clown mic. I don't think he said anything clownish, but I'll find out when I listen back to this.
It's probably me again.
Jared,
Both of worst take.
Jared, well, that's the thing when you talk as much as you do on these episodes, it's bound to happen.
Remember the time when someone was like, who's the one who talks all the time in the episodes? And somebody was like, Jeremy? And they were like, no, I think it was Ethan.
Ethan, yeah. It's always Ethan or Jeremy.
It's me or Ethan who
Well, no,
talks
I
the
mean, I
most.
know. Well, it's because we're the only ones who fucking host the episodes. Because anytime we're here, Justin's like, I'm not gonna host.
I'll host. You've never I've hosted.
You're not here.
I know, but I hosted one time, and you guys gave me shit about it.
I loved it when you hosted. it's except that when you were
First
like,
and last time.
except you were like the
bass. The pros
exactly.
have demanded it.
Yeah, no. The reading through
I'm so happy that was the one.
reading through the transcript was so funny where it's like the pools of and we're all just like, oh God, please stop. No.
Please stop.
It was so funny.
I could tell who was who based on what they said. I was like, that was Ezra.
That was so funny. Yeah. Anyway. So that's it for Dadcember.
Oh, we know who gets the clown.
All right. And so
The
yeah.
worst bit.
We'll find out. The people will decide. And they listen. Well, that's the thing. We should have everyone vote. No, we should have listeners vote. Who has the worst bit on this? And they can give. They can have like an emoji react, and then the one with the most reactions. Anyway. No, but so that was it for Dialectics After Dark in December, and finally it actually is dark when we do this because it's been getting dark at 4 o'clock. This is ridiculous.
Sad.
But yeah, this was I don't know. I had fun. Hopefully everyone else did too.
good.
So,
Yeah, thank you.
so yeah, and it'll take me a couple days to edit this probably, but yeah, we will be in touch in January after we do our anniversary episode which is sort of cheating because we only did like 2 episodes in our first year. We did an anniversary episode of like 5 episodes, but
That's false, but okay.
after like 7.
It's like 10 or something.
Sure, not 52.
Not 52.
Well, because we don't do it weekly, not
26.
12. Anyway,
It's not
point is,
24.
we're going to do an
26,
anniversary episode, but then we'll be back in January with more hot takes, more quality content, and more.
More bullshit.
This is Dialectics After Dark for December for Pearls of the Roundtable. Thank you for listening. This is brought to you by all of our listeners as well as the State Department.
The
Well,
NED.
the NED,
Yeah,
the
that
National
fucking-
Endowment for Democracy.
I don't know who
commented-
did that, but
no, someone in Discord owned up to it. They were just like, had to do for the
Motherfucker.
meme. But like, it was very.
It's pretty good.
National
Yeah.
Endowment for
Pretty good.
Democracy was like, hey, really enjoy this. We were like, God damn it. I commented on their post on Patreon. I was like, hey, I can't say I'm a fan of your recent activity in Hong Kong and everywhere else, but I guess thanks. So, but anyway, yeah, no, thank you all for listening. We'll do a call in next month. It's just we had so much content we couldn't have anyone call in today because this would be 3 hours long. But
People like that though,
no, I know they
which
do.
is unfortunate for us.
But I have to feed my dogs.
tired.
So I'm so tired,
So tired.
especially because we have
You have to feed
to
your
record
dogs.
tomorrow.
Are your
Yeah.
dogs barking?
my dogs are barking.
You got some real tired, sore feet. Solidarity forever.
All right, solidarity forever. Thanks all. Forever. Cut the mic. Cut the mic. Bye.
He's roaring like a lion. Let love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to see a revolution somehow. Let love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to see a revolution somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom. Oh, this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. resurrection somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom. Oh, this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. Roaring, roaring, he's roaring like a lion. He's roaring, roaring, he's roaring like a lion. The heavens roar and fire falls.